Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, Parallel Deku, back with another fanfiction. This is the fourth part of What If Deku Was Gifted Demonic Powers. Now before starting, please give this video a like, and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. Izuku really was itching to leave this place. It was the Sunday afternoon right after the USJ incident, and he had just one final test to do before he could remove the last of the bandages from his face and leave to return to his friends at the dorms. They haven't allowed his class back to visit him so that David Shield and his daughter could get as many tests done before they need to return to Island. Okay, now try to see if you can activate that state you did Friday, David Shield said from the other side of the class for his protection. They all had no idea how Izuku would act if he accessed the state he called his Transformation Saints demons, and had him in a room that even All Might would have, even if small issues getting out of. Alrighty, Izuku said as he closed his eyes and tried to focus on the anger and hatred he felt when he saw Momo hurt. For a second, David saw a black fluid dance around in the boy's halo veins before the veins regained their regular color. I lost it. Izuku groaned as he stood up and opened his eyes. David sighed. What were you thinking about? I tried thinking about how angry I was when I saw Momo hurt and how useless I was. David saw the black fluid return very slightly when Izuku called himself useless. I tried keeping that, but my anger left because the fact of me seeing her okay the other day kept nagging at me. I have a theory that your transformation needs extreme anger at everything and that no happiness can invade it for you to achieve that state. How about I try Saint's Rage? Izuku said. David nodded. Alright, after you activate that we can check the rest of your face to make sure everything is okay. Izuku clapped his hands. Alright, here goes. Forcing his halo to increase the flow to his body, his skin started to turn purple and his eyes erupted with purple flames. The bandages covering his left eye burning off. Electricity started to dance around his body, his sclera turning purple. How do you feel? David asked. I feel alive. Izuku gripped his hands. I feel so completely energized, like I can run straight across the ocean to America, grab a burger and run back before I finish eating it. That is interesting. David jotted down more notes. You can turn it off now. Okay. Izuku felt a bit of exhaustion once he turned it off. Can you turn it back on? Izuku tried turning it on. No, I think it has a cooldown. Might be worse the longer I have it on. You should remember that for future use. David said. Why do I have a bump? Izuku said as he rubbed the top edge of his forehead on the left side, where the burned-off bandages no longer covered. David looked up to see what Izuku was talking about and didn't even get to the bump before he noticed what exactly happened underneath Izuku's bandaged face. Izuku's left face from his cheekbone up and around his eye had red lines similar to his halo veins but more like cracks. The cracks went into his left eye. Matching red cracks went through his sclera and iris into Izuku's pupil that was red like the newfound cracks. Midoriya, does your sight seem any different? David asked. Izuku stopped rubbing the hard bump. My sight. Now that you mention it, kinda. David flipped to a new page and got ready to write. Explain please. Izuku closed his right eye and used only his left eye to see. Everything seems normal for the most part, but it is like I can see like a thermal level of stuff. Like my heat signature. David asked. I think. Can we turn off the lights in here because I think it is night vision or something? Izuku asked. David tapped the lights and felt a shiver when the red lines of energy on Izuku glowed as well as his halo veins, as if they had joined his halo veins as a new part of them. The way it made his eye look felt unnerving. How is your sight? Izuku looked around, seeing better than he normally would have with his left eye. Thinking about it for a second, he poured more energy into the new lines, and the red in his pupil expanded and made his left eye a pure red orb. His sight became easier to see everything, but everything was in different shades of red. It's great. If I use more energy, I can see better in the dark, although everything is in shades of red, but different enough that I can tell things apart. David nodded, ignoring how unnerving the red eye was in the dark. Okay, I am going to turn the lights back on. Tell me if the increased light bothers your eye. Izuku nodded, and as soon as the lights turned on, he snapped his eye shut. Oh shit, that was bright. David wrote down that the eye needs to adjust to different levels of light. It seems odd that you have a new addition to your halo veins, as you call them, especially in a color that hasn't been seen on you but rather the Momo. Izuku reverted his eye to its now normal state and shrugged. Maybe my energy grabbed onto some of the Namus when it kept blasting my face. I did take more than one and it was in different states. Maybe my healing went over them and just added them in. Possibly. The energy the Namu had was said to be similar to yours, so maybe your energy took the energy used to damage you and replicated it the best that it could, using the energy to replace what was damaged by the Namu. So I would have a cool new finger if the Namu hit my hand with that stuff. Izuku wiggled the single joint he had for a middle finger. They couldn't reattach his finger as it had finally decayed. Possibly. What about this bump? Izuku poked the bump again. David looked at the bump Izuku was speaking of and noticed how a red line went up to the bump, which looked close to black and bone-like. What is that? David asked as he opened the door between them to get a better look. Upon getting closer, David could see how the skin had opened around the bone-like thing as if a bone was actually growing. This is odd. Didn't they say you grew horns during your transformation? I think so, yeah. Izuku poked the bone, which was mostly flat with a slight curve, barely a few millimeters above the skin of the rest of his forehead. Wait, is this the horn? Am I growing a horn? David poked the bone. Possibly. It seems like the skin around the bone is already set as if you were always growing it. I may grow more like it was during your transformation and may not. This may be how it looks in what could be considered normal for you, which changes constantly. Izuku mumbled. Trust me, when I was with All Might in America, normal changed consistently. You get used to it, David said as he went back to the other room. Wait, you worked with All Might? Izuku followed David into the other room. Oh yeah, I was like his sidekick. David grinned as he remembered the time in America. That's awesome, Izuku said. So is today my last day here? David put some files in a folder. I believe that we got a significant gain of understanding for your quirk, but I honestly think that we can find out so much more. I plan on showing my findings to some of the others at Island and see where that takes us. So it's a maybe? Izuku asked. Pretty much. Although your quirk is honestly so incredible in the potential of its energy that you might get invites to Island to have further more thorough tests. Neat, Izuku said as he slipped back on his purple jacket. So can I actually leave this place now? No offense, but I want to go back to my friends. Please, I know it can be irritating to be stuck in a lab for a few days. Although most of the time it is me locking myself in to do more projects. David waved Izuku off. You can go now, but Principal Nezu has asked for one of the people involved with this project to stay here for a week to keep an eye on any lasting effects with your quirk. May I ask who? Izuku asked as a door opened to reveal Melissa Shield coming in. Hi Daddy. Hi Izuku, Melissa said as she entered. Hey sweetie, I'm heading for the airport now. David put on a coat and hugged his daughter. I will see you in a week. Guess that answers my question, Izuku said. Melissa turned to Izuku. I'm going to be the one checking up this. Melissa stopped talking as she saw the changes to Izuku's face, curious about the new red addition to Izuku's halo veins. Can you blink? Izuku said. Melissa did, then blink. Oh sorry, it just looks intriguing. That's fine. Are you joining us at the dorms then? Izuku asked. Melissa nodded. MMHMM. Principal Nezu and Island are counting this as extra credit in my classes. I knew I was extra, didn't know I was credit. Izuku joked, which caused Melissa to snort. Melissa looked the other way to hide her embarrassment from snorting. It's only for this week unless something changes though. David began to turn off equipment. Alright kids, time to leave. I believe that the school got a ride for you two back to campus. Izuku put back on his sunglasses he couldn't fix all weekend, but still kept them because of what they meant to him. Right on. Momo sat there silently while her parents argued. I do not want her going back to that school, her mother almost shouted at her father. That school is the best school. I has friends, and because of the teamwork they showed and what that school taught helped them get through that day, her father said, keeping his voice at an even level. They had to go through that because of being at that school, Momo's mother snapped. The villains were there for All Might, Momo said quietly. Me and Izuku easily got rid of the villains attacking us and tried to stop their plans. Momo's mother looked at her. I want to meet this boy that tricked my daughter into getting into more trouble. Izuku didn't trick me into anything. Momo felt a little anger. I was the first one to even suggest fighting the Namu. Don't get that tone with me, Mrs. Yaoyorozus said. Momo decided it was best to not glare at her mother, so she looked down at the table in front of her. I have seen young Midoriya, Mr. Yaoyorozus said. He seems smart and from what I can see had the right intentions. Right intentions means nothing when our daughter got hospitalized, Mrs. Yaoyorozus snapped. It would have been worse if not for Midoriya, Mr. Yaoyorozus said. What was he doing while she was being assaulted by a monster? Mrs. Yaoyorozus asked. He almost died, Momo said. The Nama wanted him and we tried stopping it. So you got yourself hurt trying to save someone else, Mrs. Yaoyorozus said. That's what heroes do, Mr. Yaoyorozus shouted. Momo was thinking to herself about how it was more like saints look out for their own. Mrs. Yaoyorozus stopped for a second. The room got quiet. I want a word with this Midoriya before I allow you to go back to the dorms. I want at least one of them to understand your safety. Momo smiled, glad that her mom was turning around. Momo was also musing how Izuku would have anyone's safety at the forefront of his mind. Wait, but classes are still happening tomorrow, Momo said. She wanted to see if everyone else was okay as soon as possible. Well, there are still quite a few hours before curfew at the campus, Mrs. Yaoyorozus said. Hopefully he can get here before that. Mr. Yaoyorozus pulled out his phone. I can ask the principal about it now. Exiting the facility for the first time all weekend, Izuku saw two cars, with Principal Nezu sitting in one with Aizawa, who looked tired as usual, and the other car had All Might in front of it. Uncle All Might. Melissa ran up to him happily. What are you doing here? I am here to take you to your dorms to get you settled. All Might grinned. I don't think two cars is needed for that. Izuku pointed out. Indeed they aren't, Nezu said. Miss Shield will be going straight to campus while someone wants to talk to you, Mr. Midoriya. On the way there I would like to discuss certain matters with you. Izuku felt like he should be worried. Okay. Shrugging it off, he walked to the car. See you, Melissa. See you later, Izuku. Melissa smiled and waved. Getting in the car, Izuku noticed that Nezu was in the back and looking at him intently. So who wanted to speak to me? That will be known later. I want to discuss your actions at USJ. Nezu said without his normal happy tone. Am I in trouble for trying to stop the Namu and that Shigaraki guy? Izuku was about to say how it was bullshit if he was. Nezu shook his head. No. In the tense situation that you were in, I commend all of the students who stepped up. I am more concerned with your rather violent and malicious fight with the Namu after what I hear you call your Saint's Demon's transformation. Izuku felt understanding in his head, knowing where Nezu was going to take this now. Though, it worried me that a student has such an ability that can be accessed in such an extreme state of emotion that they have no memory of their actions during it. Having no memories makes me worry that you also had no control over your actions in that state. Izuku wanted to grin about how he knew where the lecture was going. I checked with Mr. Shield over the weekend to make sure that this transformation of yours wouldn't just strike out on its own. And from what I hear, it triggers from your emotions, primarily anger and hatred. I figured that too. I was planning on finding things to keep me from losing it also. Izuku said. I believe so. But what worries me might be the situation with your father, the pro hero Spitfire. Nezu noticed how Izuku winced ever so slightly at that name, and the smallest bit of black fluid going through his halo veins. Aizawa looked for a second thought the mirror at his student, not knowing that Spitfire ever had wife, let alone a child. Izuku didn't hesitate to fake calmly ask, what does he have to do with this? It is rather curious to see in the file Mr. Shield shared that your father is Spitfire, a man who hasn't seemed to take to being a father. In fact, I haven't heard anything about him having a wife or son before. It worries me that this might be a strain emotionally, and I don't want there to be any risks of a transformation. Izuku kept a cool exterior, but wanted to scream about how that man didn't deserve to be called his father. I swear it won't be a strain at all. Words don't mean as much as actions, Midoriya. Nezu said. I want to make sure this is completely a null and void situation. Izuku didn't like how that sounded. Okay, I can take that mediation class at UA. You are already signed up for it, Nezu said. Nezu wasn't going to mention the other part of making sure that problem won't result in anything disastrous. Aizawa got a bad feeling. Back to your earlier question, Nezu began. It is the mother of Ms. Yaoyorozus. Oh, Izuku nodded, right before he did a double take. Wait, why? Nezu started sipping tea. Izuku did not see him have a minute ago. I do not know. Mr. Yaoyorozus only said that it was of immediate concern. Izuku mentally panicked. They probably heard about the weird chemistry between their daughter and him. They were going to probably ban him from being within 50 meters of Momo. Or kill him. Should I be worried? I don't think you should be worried. Nezu sipped more tea. I believe it is just about the situation at USJ. You didn't have a good talk with me about it, Izuku said. I think our talk went splendidly, Nezu replied. Izuku wanted to say how mentioning his father wasn't splendid, but that would reinforce what Nezu had said earlier. So where are we going exactly to meet them? The Yaoyorozus estate, Nezu answered. Though, Izuku couldn't help but think about how easy the Yaoyorozus could bury him deep on their property. Neat. The Yaoyorozus estate was big. Izuku wanted to think about how it would be like flying around the place before he remembered his wings were gone. I believe that you might be in there for a minute, Nezu said as Izuku began to leave the car. You will have us as a ride back to campus, and Ms. Yaoyorozus can join us as well if she is coming. Okay, Izuku said uneasily as he looked at the large mansion, easily as big as his apartment building. Feeling nervous, Izuku began to walk to the front door. Before the glowing boy could touch the door, it swung open, revealing a butler. You must be Midoriya, correct? The butler asked. Yes, I am he. Izuku tried to straighten his posture. Master and Mistress Yaoyorozus were expecting you in the parlor. The butler began to lead Izuku through the large entrance hall after closing the door. This place is nice. Izuku looked around at everything that could easily be as expensive as everything Izuku has ever earned in his life. Indeed it is. The butler started to open a door. The parlor room is in here. Thank you, Izuku said as he walked into the parlor room alone to see the two parents of Momo. You must be this Midoriya I have been reading about, Momo's mother said. Izuku assumed she was Momo's mother because she looked almost the same except older, shorter hair and blue eyes instead of the onyx ones Izuku found so enchanting. Izuku waved. I am Midoriya. Wait, reading. Mrs. Yaoyorozus moved the papers on a table in front of her. I asked for copies of what occurred the other day. While I don't mean to be as crass, I didn't care for any parts save the parts involving my daughter. You were in quite a bit of them, and it intrigues me how even in this class where you students stuck together, my daughter seems to have a closer bond with you. Izuku didn't like how she said that last part. He assumed she was kinda stuck up as a rich person, and Izuku was well aware of how he comes off as a hoodlum. It also didn't help that at that moment he was wearing broken sunglasses. What do you mean by it intrigues you? Izuku asked, not trying to play dumb. My daughter has always been a strong-willed girl. Good grades, strong use of her quirk, excellent control of her quirk. That day she saw multiple friends hurt and continued fighting. But as different eyewitness accounts, every time you were hurt it crushed her. It intrigues me that someone so strong-willed will cry over someone she hasn't known that long at the belief of their death. Mrs. Yaoyorozus was trying to see if she could get Izuku to admit to what she already figured out. I didn't exactly react well either when I thought she died. Izuku said, I read about that. A violent reaction, Mrs. Yaoyorozus said, which is why I am allowing her to go back to UA. Under one condition. Wait, you weren't going to let her go back? Izuku almost shouted. Mrs. Yaoyorozus looked irritated and rose a hand to silence Izuku. I was against it at first. However, seeing how happy she was after making sure you didn't die yesterday, and how clearly you two look out for each other, I have the stipulation that if she goes back there you will make sure my daughter's safety is one of your top priorities. Done, Izuku didn't hesitate to say. Mr. Yaoyorozus looked at his wife. I told you he wouldn't hesitate. Mrs. Yaoyorozus smiled. I expect you to accompany her back here next weekend when she has to make an appearance at an investors' party for our company. The syndicate, Izuku asked. Got it. Good. Mrs. Yaoyorozus looked at the bone sticking out of Izuku's head. Now tell me why you are halfway into that demonic state in our household. Izuku touched the flat horn. Oh, that is like that. I think it's because of the Namu and the whole hurting my face thing it did. Try to control your powers around our daughter if you can, Mr. Yaoyorozus said. She is told to be waiting for you to return to campus. Wait, she was already going back? Izuku asked. I decided that once I read about you being a saint, Mrs. Yaoyorozus said. I think that it would be best if the descendants of Philip and Johnny Gat got along better than they did. Izuku felt his heart stop when she said that. Did she know? How? What? Izuku asked like an idiot. Mrs. Yaoyorozus smirked at how unprepared for that Izuku was. Please, just a couple of minutes after you made that deal with Lauren he told me, his descendant. Izuku didn't know what to say. Wait, if you knew what was going to happen, why not make me and Momo meet earlier? He never told me your name, only revealing the truth of the timelines and about your own ancestor. He said that the saint would arrive and I knew it was meant for my daughter. I didn't know about this happening already till I read about you saying you were a saint. Oh, Izuku was still confused about how this was going. So you are fine with all of this? I have never seen her more motivated to get better than in the past few days of her being here. Worried sick about you, Mrs. Yaoyorozus said. Even if I think you might come across as a hoodlum, you do have that sense of strength I can feel even now. Thanks, Izuku said. You can go now. I am sure Momo is ready to go as well. Mrs. Yaoyorozus waved Izuku off. Take care of our daughter, Mr. Yaoyorozus said. Izuku nodded before he turned around. I promise. As he went to the door he heard Mrs. Yaoyorozus say one final thing. Don't worry about your secrets, they are safe with us. The door closed and Izuku let out a breath he wasn't aware he was holding. He couldn't believe that the Yaoyorozus knew about everything. Then why did Momo seem surprised when he told her? Did Momo genuinely not know? Izuku, said boy, looked up and saw Momo coming down the stairs with a bag. She had a few bandages wrapped over her shoulders that went under the sleeveless red dress she had on. Hi Momo. Izuku smiled. I'm assuming my parents talked to you? Momo asked as she got to the bottom of the stairs and closer to Izuku. He couldn't help but notice how even without her powers activated she had a red outline to her irises that were mesmerizing. Yeah, they were kinda. Izuku stopped talking when Momo gently put a finger against one of the red lines near his horn. Intimidating. His cheeks flushed at her soft touch. How did this happen? Momo asked as she rubbed one of the lines, feeling the warmth they gave off. I think it was the halo-stealing energy from the multiple blasts the Namu put into my face, Izuku answered. Is this from that transformation I heard about? Momo touched the almost flat bone sticking out of Izuku's head. Yeah, my guess is the red energy and how much damage that side of my face took just made that stay there. Momo realized how long she had been touching Izuku's face and pulled her hand away quickly, her face turning slightly red. We should get going, right? Izuku nodded. Right, I can carry your bag for you. Momo made a smirk. Oh, such a gentleman. I try. Izuku smiled as he took the bag and they began walking to the entrance. So how are you? Momo asked as she looked at him for any other changes. No. Izuku shook his hand. Ladies first. I am not going to ignore the bandages I can see there. He pointed to the bandages on her shoulders that he had no doubt were all over her midsection. I asked you first. Momo looked at Izuku's eyes through his broken sunglasses. I also expect to learn why your magic shades are broken. You might have asked me first, but it is called ladies first, and as the person who asked first you should say your part first as a form of politeness, Izuku said. Momo playfully pushed him. Okay, everything is fine and the bandages could be off in a day or two, but I might have a permanent scar along my... Izuku frowned. How bad and where exactly? Momo traced along the inside of her left. It's where the Namu's foot hit me first. I don't know how bad. She then whacked Izuku. Now what is the situation with you? He shrugged. I didn't really check for scars. Apparently my transformation, which I am calling Saint's Demons, has a healing aspect, but it doesn't as much heal but force everything back together to keep me going. I want to ask more about that later, Momo said as they got close to the car. Izuku opened the door and dramatically bowed. Ladies first. Momo smiled and pushed Izuku slightly. You're such a dork. I was going for gentlemen. Izuku got the back seat next to her, noticing how Nezu was now in the front with Aizawa. Hello, Miss Yaoyorozus. Nezu smiled. Hello, Principal Nezu. Momo looked slightly confused at seeing the principal. I can assume you are doing well considering what happened. The quirked animal asked and the creation user nodded. Excellent. We shall have you two at the dorms in a swift minute. Oh, and Midoriya. Huh. Izuku looked up. There is a Mr. Junichi at the school who wants to speak to you. Izuku's ran cold for the third time that day. First Nezu brings up his father, then Mrs. Yaoyorozus reveals that she knows about the timeline, and now an enemy of his great-great-great-great-grandfather was here to talk to him. Izuku doubted it was going to be a talk and more of a fight. Momo also got worried. Izuku had told her some of the history of the saints and knew exactly who Junichi was. Luckily the two of them didn't let it show because Nezu was watching for a reaction. Mr. Junichi, you say? Izuku asked. Why yes, he said it was urgent family business. Nezu nodded. When we get to campus you need to get Ida from the dorms first. Neat. Izuku pushed it to the back of his mind. Deciding to distract himself from that problem for a minute he looked at Momo. Your mom scares me. Momo looked at him slightly amused. She can be like that. She also said I have to escort you back to your estate this weekend for that thing they have. Momo got red. Did her mom purposely try to make them go to a party together? Really? Izuku nodded. Yeah, I think she made me your bodyguard. Aren't bodyguards supposed to be stronger than the person they are protecting? Momo smirked. Hey, Izuku looked offended. I can totally take you in a fight. Who had Hal on the ground with a gun during the battle trials? Momo asked. I reversed that. Melissa walked into the dorms of 1A. Hey, it's the scientist girl, Denki said, letting everyone know she was there. Hi. Melissa waved to everyone. Midori is not back yet, Mina said from her spot at the table with Toru. Shouldn't he be at your lab still? Or with you? Actually, the tests and checkups are over for now. I am staying with you guys for a week as a way for one of the team to keep a check on his powers in case they act out. How is he? Katsuki asked. He seems fine. I actually have a question about him, Melissa said. What is it? Hanta asked. How come he doesn't talk about his father being Spitfire? Melissa asked. The room went dead silent. Everyone looked at her and Katsuki broke the remote in his hands from gripping it too tightly. His father is Spitfire, Shoto asked. He had actually seen the man a few times, having once been old friends with his own father. Do not say that name again, Katsuki said with a quiet anger. Melissa looked at him confused. Before she could ask about it, Shoto immediately shook his head. Midoriya has bad history there, Shoto stated. Please don't bring up his father around him. Melissa nodded, not liking how everyone was on edge when she mentioned it. Sorry, I didn't know. Well, now you do. Kaya started picking up the pieces of his remote. Toru whispered to Mina, who's Spitfire, the second strongest flame-type hero. He isn't really a nice person. Mina remembered seeing stuff about him on the news recently. Katsuki, Izuku isn't here. Denki started. Can you at least tell us what happened? Katsuki gave Denki a dirty look. That is Izuku's business. At least give us an idea. Toru asked. That bastard is the reason Izuku has no sense of self-worth. Katsuki said. What do you mean? Izuku always boasts about himself being awesome and all that. Hanta said. I believe Midoriya might be saying that more to convince himself. Yui said as she was getting a good idea of what could have happened. She looked at Katsuki. Did Spitfire abandon Midoriya? Katsuki scowled at the name. That is Izuku's business. A second later everyone heard the door open again. Ladies first, they heard Izuku say before he was pushed into their sight. You are such a dork. Momo laughed as she followed him in. Don't use your powers to push me. I don't use mine, Izuku said. I wouldn't notice if you used yours. Momo smiled. Izuku dramatically got offended, taking a big step back while holding a hand over his heart. How rude. Stop flirting, Mina shouted to get both of their attention. Both of them snapped to Mina. We were not flirting, they said at the same time. Both red and embarrassed about what they knew was them flirting. Mina looked at them like she was looking at bullshit. Denial at this point isn't cute, it's annoying. Accept it and go find a room. Both of them got insanely red. Before either of them could retort, Tenya came down the stairs. Midoriya, Tenya said. Are you well? I'm alive, Izuku replied. Excellent. Did Principal Nezu alert you to the meeting we are to attend? Yeah, lead the way, my guy. Izuku started to follow Tenya as they left the dorms. Momo looked at everyone who was looking at her. What? When are you two gonna? Denki asked and Kyoko whacked him over the head. Did you know Midori's father was Spitfire? Mina asked. I said not to say that name, Katsuki snapped. Relax, he isn't here. Mina waved her arm at the door. Izuku left. I just wanted to know if Momo knew at all. Momo looked at her confused. No, did you know? Momo felt an odd feeling thinking that Mina knew more about Izuku than she did. The scientist spilled it a minute ago. Toru answered. You didn't know either. I don't think that Midoriya would just go around telling people whatever it is that he hides if it is as bad as Bakugo makes it out to be. Mashiro said. So stop talking about it. Katsuki sighed. Midoriya, I have one request before we go in there, Tenya said as they stopped in front of a conference room at the main building. Shoot, Izuku said. Don't attack my ancestor, please, Tenya asked. Izuku narrowed his eyes at Tenya, considering the request. So you know stuff. The taller teen nodded. He talked to me yesterday. He told me the history between our ancestors and he wants to make his own request. The glowing teen narrowed his eyes further. Why would I want to hear a request from the guy who killed my grandma? Why would you accept a deal with the guy known for getting the closest to killing your grandfather? Tenya asked. Izuku kept his stare. He has 2 minutes. That should suffice. Tenya nodded and opened the door for them to go in. Izuku saw the man he knew was Junichi of the Ronin. Hello, Midoriya, Junichi said as he put a box on the table in the middle of the room. I have no doubt that Gat has told you about me and you share his hostility for me. Damn right I do, Izuku replied. I will make this quick then. This is for you. Junichi slid the box over to Izuku. It is from people who talked to Dane about making amends and being on the right side this time around. Izuku opened the box and saw multiple pins of the Saint's symbol, as well as one he believed belongs to the Brotherhood and another for the Sons of Samedi. How did? Dane was sought out after what happened last year. By me and Marrow of the Brotherhood. I don't see yours in here, Izuku said. Junichi held it up, having had it on his person. This one is from my ancestor directly, if you will accept it as a saint despite the history between our two families. Izuku looked at Tenya, who sat there patiently. You know everything already. Junichi has informed me on everything except the contents of the box and any current allies you have, although I do have my ideas of who they are. So you understand I am remaking the saints, with some of the same guidelines. As long as I don't hurt people who don't deserve it, then I am fine. 2 biggest things. Loyalty. Gotta have it with my crew when it is started. And being a saint comes first over being a hero. Tenya actually paused at the last part, which Izuku figured he would. The guy did want to be a hero like his brother. I can accept that. Tenya only partially believed it when he said that. Izuku nodded. Alright, then you are one of the saints. Junichi handed the medallion to Tenya. Tenya's arm had a spasm as the medallion glowed and poured all of its power into him as it became bound to him. He grunted, feeling a little pain in his forearms. Almost as soon as the pain started, it ended. You feeling okay? Izuku asked. I feel stronger. Tenya noticed the yellow outline of his body, glowing similar to Shoto's white from the day before, Momo's red glow, and Nito's own orange. What does this do exactly? It should increase your speed greatly and also give some strength. I gave a request for there to be an ability unique to yours that has to do with swords. Junichi answered. I am not one for the blades, but I guess I can learn. The glowing yellow teen rotated his arms. Why did my arms sting? Try using your energy, Izuku said. The ability might be in there. Go for the buzzing of it or whatever it feels like. Tenya nodded and mentally grabbed onto the energy in his arms. Not sure what to do exactly, he tried pushing it out through his hands. In response, twin blades of bright yellow light erupted from his palms, going out 1/2 meter before stopping at a sharp point. Whoa, Izuku looked at the energy blades. You got lightsaber hands. Can you twist the angle that they are at? Junichi asked. Tenya tried to turn the blades so it would be like holding a pole. Taking little effort, the blades rotated. They feel warm, I bet. Izuku looked at the blades from the side, seeing how they were similar to katanas, except for being bright yellow energy, that is. Tenya wanted to see what happened and tried to let go of the blades, only to have them completely shoot back into his arms and disappearing. This is interesting. Izuku nodded before he turned to Junichi. So is Marrow's for a descendant. Who does the Sons of Samedi belong to? Marrow said that his descendant has a family name of Kirishima. Ijiro, Izuku asked in surprise. Honestly, how was it that all of these descendants happened to be in the same country or city together, let alone the same class? So you already know him? Junichi asked. Apparently. Okay, so how about the Samedi one? That is from Mr. Sunshine. He has no descendant but said he wanted to be of help. It is his Lowa dust ability. Junichi answered. Izuku looked at it and pondered. The Lowa dust can keep things calm and be effective in crowds. Best bet would to be giving it to Fumikage since he was the only ally thus far with no extra abilities. Alright, what about these? Izuku picked up a saint's pin. Dane said that Gat started making those to help you have a powerful start. He only made these with some help and you have to figure out how to make more if you need them. I believe they give simple purple cloaks and a bit of strength. Meet. Izuku held up 3 that looked slightly different, being a slightly bigger saint symbol than the rest. What about these? If I am correct, I believe that Dane mentioned people by the names of Pierce, Shondi, and Julius. Julius? As in Julius Little? Izuku shook his head in confusion. I thought he was a rat bastard. As far as I know, he is on purgatory with the old boss, them having made peace a few decades ago. Junichi answered. Is this also his way of making amends? I believe so. Junichi nodded. Did they add any extra stuff to theirs? I believe Pierce added what the saints called the dubstep gun to his. Izuku grinned as he looked at the medallion. Nice. I believe the one from Shondi has an extra shield-like ability, like multiple layers to it. Izuku figured he could give that to someone who was good offensively to balance them. Julius, I have no clue about, sorry. This is fine and more than enough. Izuku put all of the medallions back in the box and was about to close it before he saw something else at the bottom. Pulling it out, it was a simple reddish-pink coin. What's this? I believe that is from Jezebel for her ancestor. Wait, as in Satan's daughter Jezebel? Izuku dropped the coin in his confusion. She had a child. With who? Junichi shook his head. I do not know. That is for her ancestor, however. How am I supposed to find a descendant of the devil? Izuku asked. How is this a good idea? You should know by now that Jezebel has a dislike for her father. Satan cast her out of hell along with the rest of the saints involved in the events decades ago. I know that. This is just weird as hell. Do I have a name to help me find them? She wasn't exactly clear apparently in her translation from purgatory. Something about the coin just being a magnet. That seems like it will take a while. Izuku put the pink coin in the box and closed it. Sorry, I started off as an ass. Junichi nodded. I would have acted the same given the circumstances. Was that all? Izuku asked. Indeed it was. I wanted to offer my line the chance to get in the correct side this time around, and Dane wanted me to give you the box. Thank you. Did my grandpa have a message for me? Izuku asked. I don't believe so. I wasn't told of one. Oh, Izuku felt a little sad. That's fine. If it is okay with you, I would like to go back to my dorms now. Junichi stood and bowed slightly to the saint. It was nice to meet the new face of the saints. Tenya followed Izuku out after a quick goodbye to his ancestor. So are there any other rules, boss? Boss? The glowing saint turned around. I like the sound of that. Gotta have purple on you, my dude. Represent colors. Tenya nodded. I will do my best as a saint. So what do we do as saints? I haven't made it really official yet. Let me hold on, I have the best idea ever. Izuku said as he began to walk faster to the dorms. Midoriya weighed up. Izuku was grinning as he felt like he was so close to having the saints become reborn. Getting back to the dorms, Izuku already saw a wrench in his plans. Class 1B was there. It wasn't too bad, but it did halt his plans for the moment. Hey, it's the glowing boy, Midoriya. Kosai grinned. Hi Midoriya. Itsuka grinned and waved from a table. We wanted to check on you guys after what happened, and Yaoyorozus said it was fine. So how are you flying these days? Kosai asked. The room went silent again, and Kosai felt bad when Izuku looked like that hurt. My wings got ripped off, Izuku said. They said it is a low chance of them finding a way to reattach them. Kosai felt even worse. He had gotten it clearly the other night that the dude loved his wings. Hey, I'm sorry, man. It's fine, you didn't know. Izuku smiled. Your eye looks so pretty, Pony said as she looked at the red lines across the left side of his face. Looks badass. Tetsu nodded. Thanks. You guys know that I wasn't the only one to get scars from USJ, right? Izuku asked. Katsuki got messed up nasty. Katsuki spun in his seat. Do you mean I got messed up? I barely took a beating. So you are telling me your face was like that before USJ? Izuku asked. Katsuki couldn't help but smirk slightly. Is that a horn? Pony started to poke the bone on Izuku's head. Yeah, Izuku said. I had a new thing during the attack, and that's just there. Now we're horn buddies, Pony announced. I have horns too, Mina yelled. Horn trio. Does it bother anyone that 2 of the 3 in this horn trio are the love experts of the class? Setsuna asked. The expertise probably comes from their horniness, Denki said. Kyoka whacked him over the head. Oh, what? Do you not think before you speak? Kyoka asked. What did I say that was wrong? The electric boy was confused. You called them horny, dude, come on. Minoru surprisingly didn't add another joke. Because they have horns, Denki pointed at the 3. Oh wait, horny. Ooh, Lord, you're stupid. Kyoka sighed. Anyways, what new thing makes you have a horn grow? Tetsu asked. A transformation. Izuku didn't feel like saying he became essentially a violent demon. Transformation. The hairy student from 1B, Jiroda Shishida, asked. Dude went feral. Hanta said. Grew horns and claws and he turned black. Scary shit. Minoru nodded. Claws. Pony looked at his hands. Are you missing a finger? Pony grabbed his hand and pointed at the missing finger. Oh, would you look at that? Izuku said. Yeah, the Namu ripped it off before I tore its brain to shreds apparently. Apparently, Itsuka said. Do you not remember losing your finger or anything? Setsuna asked. No, I blacked out during my transformation. I do the same somewhat, Jiroda said. The more I go beast-like, the less self-control and reasoning I have. I bleed the more I rip my ass off, Minoru said. Izuku started laughing hard and soon others started as well. What? Minoru said. I thought we were saying risks of our quirks now. Then Minoru remembered his pervy nature and realized exactly what he said. Oh, that's funny. I think I would have the same problem, Denki said. Izuku started to walk to the stairs with his box. Fumikage dude, can you help me with this? Fumikage looked confused for a second before nodding and following Izuku. Once they got out of earshot of the commons, Izuku spoke. Dude, I got you a medallion. A medallion? Like the one Yaoyorozus had accepted? Fumikage asked. Yeah, turns out Ada is related to someone from the past with the saints as well. That guy brought me this box and I have a good amount of medallions now. One specifically for me. Fumikage doubted there was one made with him exactly in mind. It can go to anyone really, but I think you could use it best. Izuku stopped as they got on the 5th floor, opening the box and pulling out the medallion from the Sons of Samedi. I know the guy who made this. Seems scary, not going to lie, but a good dude. Fumikage took the medallion. How would this fit me well? If I am correct, this has the strength and speed boost. The shield apparently everyone but me gets, and a personal ability of Mr. Sunshine. Mr. Sunshine. Fumikage questioned the name as they entered Izuku's room. He is pleasant. It's called Lowa Dust, which was a drug back in their days. The ability, as far as I know from my experience, has a smoke-like ability that can pacify of calm things. Like Dark Shadow. Fumikage nodded. That would be perfect with me when it comes to subduing his rage. Where is Dark Shadow, by the way? Izuku was surprised that the demon wasn't out at the moment. He is upset about USJ and blames himself for the loss of my eye. He has not been coming out lately as much. How is it, by the way? Izuku looked at the ruined eye that was covered by a dark purple eye patch. By the way, nice touch with the color choice. Thanks, and I'm okay. Dark Shadow said he might have a way to replace my eye. That's cool. Izuku held out the medallion for Fumikage. So you want this one? Fumikage nodded and took the medallion. How does this work? As soon as Fumikage asked, the medallion glowed and Fumikage started to absorb it. A dark green glow covering him. Instead of pain like the others, he felt calm and relaxed. This is unique. How does it feel? Izuku asked as the process finished. I feel calm. Fumikage smiled. He figured it was side effects of the Lowa Dust ability. Can I try this Lowa Dust ability here? Sure, knock yourself out. Izuku nodded. Fumikage pulled on the energy in a way that felt natural and a dark green smoke poured out of his palms. He accidentally overshot the energy and the room was filled with the strong smoke. Shoto walked up to Izuku's door a few minutes later to ask him about the powers he had taken from the Namo. Opening the door, a cloud of dark green smoke rolled out and hit Shoto. Shoto chuckled at the fuzzy feeling he got and forgot why he went upstairs in the first place. Hey, who's there? Shoto heard Izuku ask in a funny tone. Shoto couldn't remember his name. The smoke making him feel fuzzy in his. Dude, we have Cheetos. Shoto heard the voice of someone familiar speak. Shoto didn't need another invite and entered the room. Hey, where is Midoriya and Takoyami? Tetsu asked. They have been gone for a while. Same with Todoroki. Tsuyu said. Can't be a proper party without them. Mina said. Yeah, Momo, go get your boyfriend. He is not my Momo, got red. Ashido, stop it. You are fun to mess with. But you should go get your boyfriend. Setsuna grinned. Izuku is not my Momo looked flustered before she left to go find Izuku. Notice how she went to find him? Setsuna asked. Also, she said Izuku, but we didn't. Mina said. I mean, that part was obvious though. Setsuna pointed out. She also didn't finish the sentence either time. Pony said. I would use my love expertise, but that seems like a 1A thing. Mina nodded. Don't worry, I have been on it. I give it a week or two before they are all over each other. Can I get in on that bet? Setsuna asked, before Itsuka smacked her. No gambling, Setsuna, come on, Itsuka scolded. That's just like Momo with Izuku. Denki pointed out to Hanta. Hanta pointed back. You're right. The parallels are crazy. Getting to the 5th floor, Momo smelled something off. Not taking chances, she quickly created a gas mask. Izuku. Momo got closer to his room where the door was cracked. A cloud of dark green smoke slowly pouring out. What the hell? Pushing the door open, she found a very questionable sight. Fumikage and Shoto, two of the most stoic people in the class, on the floor giggling like dumbasses alongside Izuku, who looked like he had spaced out. Momo noticed the smoke slowly flowing from Fumikage's arms, making it clear that he was the source. Wait, guys, Shoto said as he waved his arms in the air. What? Izuku moved his head slowly to look in Shoto's direction. Weren't there Cheetos? There were Cheetos. Izuku sat up, noticing Momo. Hello, Amo. Midoriya. Fumikage said. I don't think that is her name. I said Momo. Izuku looked confused. No, you said Amo. Shoto said. No, you said Amo. Izuku shot back. You said it first though. Fumikage said. Said what first? Shoto asked. Not you. And Fumikage pointed at Izuku. I said what? Izuku looked confused. What? Fumikage asked him. What is wrong with you three? Momo looked at the three. What is wrong with us? Izuku looked offended. What is wrong with you is with us. What? Shoto looked at Izuku. That didn't make sense. You don't make sense. Izuku retorted. Are you three high? Momo asked. No, I am on the ground. Izuku answered. Why is there smoke coming from Takoyami's arms? Momo asked. Shoto tried to speak before he stopped. Wait, what was the question? I think she wants to know about the Lowa dust, Izuku said as he plopped back down. Lowa dust. Momo felt like that was familiar. She then remembered a talk with Izuku about the past where it was a drug. Did Takoyami get a Lowa dust power? Momo asked. TSSSHEA. Fumikage nodded. So you idiots are high. Momo sighed. Takoyami, turn off your power. Fumikage looked at his arms. Oh, would you look at that? Hey, you didn't turn it off. Izuku looked at Fumikage's arms as well. How do I turn this off? Fumikage asked. Wait, I got it. The smoke stopped pouring out of his arms. You three come on. Momo grabbed Izuku's arm to pull him up. Whoa, head rush. Izuku almost fell over before he crashed into Momo, head first into her. Okay. Momo moved his head away from her, feeling flustered. Keep it together, Izuku. Shush, pretty lady. I think I am falling. Izuku fell over. Izuku took her down with him. Come on. Ugh, fine. Izuku tried getting back up before falling back on the floor. Momo sighed, the other not even attempting to get up. Momo groaned before she stood up and went for the commons to get help. Momo entered the commons with her gas mask still on, which a few people found odd. What's up, yeah, Momo? Where is Midori? Mina asked. What's with the mask? Denki asked. Momo didn't answer but pointed at Ochako and Katsuki. You two come with me. Katsuki looked annoyed as he stood up. What did the glowstick do this time? Why did I even ask? Katsuki said as they looked at the three guys on the floor of Izuku's room. Are they okay? Ochako said as she adjusted her new gas mask. They will, but I need you to make these idiots weightless to get them out of here. Momo said. Why was I needed then? Katsuki asked. Yell at them if they are being idiots. Momo said. The explosive teen grinned. Hell yeah. He moved over to Izuku, who was now floating up. Stop being an idiot, dumbass. Izuku frowned. Too loud. I disagree. I think I am not loud enough. Katsuki grinned. Momo opened Izuku's windows and created a few fans to blow the air out. So what dumbass brought weed here? Katsuki asked the three floating guys. We don't have weed. Izuku looked at Katsuki like he was stupid. Fumikage learned a new ability and I think I overdid it. Fumikage said. Wait. Shoto held up a hand, or held it down since he had his back against the ceiling. Are we high right now? Yes, dumbass. Katsuki said. So did Bird Brain gain a smoke drug ability? That seems out of nowhere for him. I think it is a defensive ability to help subdue Dark Shadow. Fumikage blinked. And apparently anyone who breathes it in becomes an idiot. Momo said as she closed the door to Izuku's room behind her. So what do we do with these guys? Ochako asked. Someone needs to watch them so we can just take them downstairs with us until they return to normal. Momo said. I'm not babysitting, so someone else is doing it. Katsuki said as it started pulling Fumikage and Shoto by their legs like oons. Someone get glowstick. Momo pulled Izuku down a bit before she started following Katsuki. It's a good thing you didn't breathe it in earlier. Ochako said to Momo. I guess. Momo was remembering Izuku calling her a pretty lady earlier. Do you think we could give them something to make them get out of it quicker? The gravity girl asked. Hopefully. I preferred Izuku when he was a smart idiot. That is a contradictory statement. Izuku said from the air. You can say that but can't stand up straight. Momo asked. The floating boy shrugged. At the bottom of the stairs the six were met with questions. What happened to them? Denki asked as he saw the three guys who looked like they had one brain cell working among them in the air. Takoyami got a new ability, and it made these morons high as a kite and dumb as a bag of rocks basically. Katsuki said as he guided Fumikage and Shoto to above a couch, while Momo got Izuku above another couch. Damn, I misses out on something fun. We had Cheetos. Izuku chuckled. There were Cheetos. Fumikage asked. You guys get more interesting every time we come over. Setsuna grinned. Ochako touched her hands together and the three boys dropped onto the couches. Someone needs to watch these dumbasses so they don't kill themselves trying to remember how to breathe. Katsuki said. Dude, breathing is hard sometimes. Izuku said. Maybe for your dumbass. Katsuki said. I am a professional breather. Dude, I want to be a professional breather too. Izuku started to laugh. What happened to the Cheetos? Fumikage looked confused. When did we have Cheetos? Shoto asked. Someone slapped them. Katsuki walked away. I think I could take her cheetah in a fight. Izuku said. Could you? Setsuna asked. Izuku looked like he was struggling to comprehend her question. Wait, could I? You tell me. Setsuna said. Izuku's eyes went wide. This is freaking me out. Setsuna, don't purposely mess with them like that. Itsuka said. What? It's funny, Setsuna argued. Just don't. Itsuka said. Yeah, you might fry their last 5 working brain cells. Denki said. You're one to talk. Kyoka said. If you use your quirk too much you end up like them. We just need to keep them here and have someone watching each of them. Momo said as she sat next to Izuku. And we can guess you have Midori covered. Mina grinned, not even slightly surprised. Are you going to help or just make jokes? Momo asked. Jokes. The pink girl smiled. I can watch Takoyami. Ochako said. I was going to read anyways. Ribbit. I can take watch of Todoroki. Suyu said. It will be like watching my brother. Wait, why are we being watched? Shoto looked confused. You can't watch yourselves. Denki said. Shoto nodded at the answer. Izuku slumped to his side, his head resting on Momo's shoulder. That stuff is nice, I bet. Hanta said. You all look super gone. I'm not gone, I'm right here. Izuku yawned. Momo rolled her eyes before taking a couch pillow and putting it in Izuku's face. Go to sleep, Izuku. Izuku took the pillow and dropped it on his lap, his head still on her shoulder. Okay, pretty lady. Momo got red and gently pushed Izuku's head away to lay back on the couch. Izuku, stop talking till you are fine. I am fine. Izuku picked his head back up and looked at her. Are you sure? Denki asked. Your neck looks weak. Your neck looks weak. Izuku shot back. Whose neck is weak? Shoto asked. Ribbit. No one. Don't worry about it, Todoroki. Suyu said as she started setting up a chessboard with Nezu. How long should this last? Ochako asked while Fumikage was poking his own arms. Hey scientist, Katsuki shouted from the kitchen. Find out when they will stop being utter dumbasses. Before Melissa could even say anything, Izuku clapped his hands together. Wait, I have an idea, Izuku shouted loudly. What is it? Denki asked. Izuku looked confused for a second, as if he forgot what he was going to say, before he snapped his fingers. Electricity. That was already invented, Midoriya. Shoto said. Not that. Izuku groaned. This before anyone could say anything. Izuku activated his electric ability and shocked himself, as well as Momo next to him. Luckily for Momo it wasn't a bad shock, just surprising. Izuku blinked a couple of times. Whoa, head rush. That feels like some clairvoyance sort of stuff. So you are fine now? Ochako asked. The glowing kid shook his head around for a sec. Yeah, it feels weird, but I also feel like I can actually think properly now. We'll definitely be fine quicker than before. Izuku plopped down on the couch. I am just going to sit here and try not to spin with the room. What about these two? Hanta pointed at Fumikage and Shoto. Have Denki shock them. Izuku stared up at the ceiling. Okay. The electric teen grinned as he had electricity start dancing between his fingers. Don't overdo it, Denki. Kyoka said. I won't. Denki said as he poked Shoto's forehead and shot electricity into him. The ice fire teen jolted up. That doesn't feel pleasant. Indeed it doesn't. Fumikage said as he felt the shock push him closer to normal. I need to get a better grasp on my abilities so as to not have this repeated. So you idiots are good? Katsuki asked as he exited the kitchen. Good, because food is ready in a few minutes. Itsuka stood up. All right, come in guys, let's give 1A some alone time. 1B had left and food was eaten. Everyone was still in the commons, however. So does anyone know when Aoyama, Kirishima and Monomer return? Mashiro asked. Right now actually. Nito said as he walked in, wearing a loose shirt and pants. Whoa, this is the first time I haven't seen you look like a preppy kid. Hanta remarked. Nito looked down at his clothing. I can't really wear clothing my actual size for a few days until my side gets better. I have to keep pressure off of it. What happened with you again? Denki asked. Shark villain tried to tear me in half with his jaws. I actually have some of his teeth in a cup. Nito carefully sat down between Kyoka and Toru. Dude, nice. Make a necklace. Hanta said. Did anyone miss their dazzling classmate? Aoyama said as he walked in, sporting a small scar along his collarbone. Hey, my twinkling buddy, Izuku grinned. Though you're part of the horn trio now, Midori, the pink girl stated. Can't I be part of both? Izuku asked. No, Mina said instantly. One or the other. Okay then, twinkling buddies. I barely have a horn anyways. Izuku said. You traitor. The pink girl narrowed her eyes and pointed a finger at him. This betrayal will not be forgotten. Okay. Izuku stood up but got slightly dizzy. Whoa, too fast. Momo put her arm out to balance the saint. Sit back down, Izuku, until you're fine. Izuku waved her off. I'm fine. Izuku made his way to Aoyama. Thanks for kicking ass at USJ with me. Did it with style. Aoyama did a pose. Hey, is Kirishima the only one not here now? Denki asked. He is actually with Recovery Girl. Aoyama said. I saw him as I came here. He should be here soon. Izuku looked at Nito. Hey dude, can you help me with something? Nito nodded and got up. As last and G as I don't strain my. Trust me, it is just speaking. Izuku went to the stairs. Wait, so it's finally happening for real? Nito looked at the box Izuku had opened and was holding. Yep. Izuku grinned. And I know exactly what to do with all of these right now. Wait, you are already going to give them to people? Nito asked as he held the one from Pierce. Everyone, Izuku stated. Everyone? Nito asked. As in all of 1A. Yes, Izuku nodded. I am so sure of this. Why? Not saying it is a bad idea, but what made you think of this? Izuku started walking downstairs with the box. Everyone fought together for their lives at USJ. If that doesn't make the type of bonds and loyalty I want to instill in the first saints, nothing will. So how are you doing this? Nito asked. I am telling them everything. Izuku said. I want them to trust me as the leader, and I have to be clear about what they are joining, past and future. Izuku got to the bottom of the stairs and saw everyone surrounding the table. What's going on? Izuku asked. Ijiro, I am so sorry. Izuku heard Mina through the hole, walked around the group to see Mina gripping the said redhead in a tight hug. Ijiro had bandages covering the left half of his head, down his neck, and the upper part of his, as well as the entirety of his arm through his shirt. Mina, you're fine, Ijiro said quietly. No, I am not, Mina snapped. You got hurt trying to get me. I would do it again, Ijiro replied. You would have done the same for me, so don't apologize. Mina pouted. It's still my fault. I could have avoided the fire, but I didn't. It is no one's fault but my own. So how bad is it, my guy? Izuku sat down next to him. Well, hold up. Ijiro pointed to Izuku's face. What happened to you? He got uglier, Katsuki said, Yui lightly smacking him. If anything, that makes him hotter. Toru muttered. Hotter? You already thought I was hot. Izuku raised an eyebrow. Duh, the invisible replied. Ripped as hell, gorgeous eyes, good hair, good clothing sense, and your halo veins make you seem like a Greek god. Izuku grinned. Awa shucks, I'm blushing. But what happened, man? Ijiro asked. Namu ed me up and my halo veins absorbed the energy it hit me with to use as fuel to heal everything, I guess. And the horn? Ijiro asked. I had a demonic transformation. Izuku said. I lost control of my anger and became demon-like. This stayed out apparently. Now tell me how bad yours is. Well, Recovery Girl scolded me about how I kept trying to tank the burns that I shouldn't have been trying to tank. My hardening apparently messed up the already off type of fire the guy had, and now pretty much everything underneath the bandages looks burnt. Even your hair. Denki asked. Are you blind in that eye? Katsuki asked. My hair was shaved off on that side so they could treat everything better. It will grow back. My eye thankfully is fine, and once the bandages are off I can use it. Izuku nodded. That stuff is a badge of honor now. Izuku started to type on his phone to send a quick message to Momo, while still looking at Ijiro. Hell yeah, man. Wearing them with pride as manly, Ijiro grinned. Every bruise, cut or injury I get I plan on grinning through. Momo looked at her phone that just went off. She had a message from Izuku. Can you keep the scientist occupied somewhere else? I will explain later, promise. Momo nodded at Izuku and tapped Melissa's shoulder. Hey, do you have any of your equipment here? Yes. Why? Melissa asked. I have a new ability and it confuses me how it doesn't seem to act like the rest of my quirk. I was wondering if you could help me understand what is going on with it. Melissa looked excited. Oh, definitely, let's go to my room and see what the problem is. Izuku smiled as Momo went with Melissa out of the commons. Hey guys, Izuku said to get the rest of the class's attention after Melissa and Momo left. I want to tell you guys some stuff. However, everyone has to promise to keep this a secret no matter what. Everyone looked at him in confusion, thinking he was finally going to open up about his father. Sure, I promise this secret will stay a secret, Mina said. Most everyone nodded, but Katsuki looked a little uneasy, thinking it was about Spitfire. You guys know how I keep saying I am a saint, right? Yes, wasn't it what caused the Namu to go berserk on you? Yui asked. I am still trying to figure that out, Izuku said. However, I want to tell you guys about the saints and ask you guys to become the new ones. Minutes later, everyone looked at Izuku quietly. They were all processing the important and very secret information Izuku had told him. Izuku was sitting quietly while they thought. He had told them about what the saints used to be, a gang of criminals, to celebrities, to running America, to avenging Earth after an alien invasion and destruction of Earth. He told them how he actually had the halo that once belonged to the devil himself, and how Izuku was past the legacy of remaking the saints and he wanted them to be more than average heroes. The only people not looking even slightly confused were Shoto, Fumikage, Tenya, and Nito, as they already knew. Dude, this sounds like a completely insane thing, and it makes me think that you are still gone from Takoyami's smoke. Denki then pointed at Fumikage. Wait a damn minute, did you get that ability from Izuku? Fumikage nodded. I did. So you knew? Mashiro asked. Dark Shadow is an actual demon, Fumikage said. He told me his suspicions of Izuku on the first day, when he saw Midori and flipped out. Mina said. Wait, Kyoka said. Does that mean Todoroki, Momo, and Nito also already knew? How would they know? Hanta asked. It makes sense if you think about it, Toru said. Todoroki must have gotten his powers from the Namu that day at the lab helping Midoriya. Nito has been friends with Midoriya for a while and even knew his grandfather. And yeah, Momo didn't mention her abilities, but had them after being with Midoriya for a few days. Yeah, they knew. Izuku nodded. I told Shoto the other day after we talked, and I thought he would be a great person on the team. Fumigage when he and Dark Shadow confronted me about my powers being seen as demonic because Dark Shadow can see that. Nito has been an ally for years. What about Momo? Mina asked, wanting to know how those two came to become allies. It was part of a deal with this guy Philip who gave me my healing power. He asked that his line joins and Momo is from that line. Did that deal mention you two having Yule tension? Toru asked. Izuku choked on his breath. I was also recruited, Tenya announced. Earlier today, in fact. I believe I will shine brightly as a saint, Aoyama said loudly. Izuku looked at Aoyama, the first person to say anything about joining. Really? Aoyama nodded. If you can twinkle being a saint without his crew yet, then imagine how intense the twinkling will be as a whole group. I would disrespect myself by not joining. Izuku grinned really brightly. He put his hand in the box and grabbed the medallion from Shondi, which would help Aoyama's defense that wasn't as good. Then this is for you. It might tingle for a second. Aoyama grabbed the medallion. What is a shine without its buff? Everyone watched as Aoyama's bandaged arm glowed from having the medallion give him its power. Boy, this does tingle. The glowing stopped. Aoyama moved his fingers around. So do I just. Aoyama pulled on his power and his body got covered in a purple glow. Whoa, Hanta's eyes were wide as he looked at the French boy next to him. Dude, that is cool. Hey, twinkling buddy, Izuku said to get the new saint's attention. The one I have you actually has a unique ability of a shield. Figured you would like the extra defense. Oh, you know me so well. Aoyama grinned and tried to figure out his shield. Suddenly his body got covered in waves of varying shades of purple, appearing almost like glass. Definitely shining with that, Denki remarked. This is a tremendously magnificent moment of shining. Aoyama did one of his signature poses. Hey Izuku, Ijiro said. I would like to become a saint. Done deal. Izuku grabbed the Brotherhood's medallion. That one looks way different, Kyoka remarked. Ijiro, you actually have an ancestor who made this for you. I don't remember if I was told of any extra powers, but this one is for you specifically. Ijiro took it carefully. So how bad does it? Before he could finish asking, the medallion did its thing with him and he absorbed its powers. Whoa, that is a rush. Are you okay? Mina asked. Ijiro jumped up. Oh man, this is amazing. He was bouncing on his feet. Maybe it is an adrenaline rush-like ability if anything. Izuku said. That would help with my quirk. That works off of my stamina, and with this I could go for days. The redhead was practically jumping. Okay dude, chill for a second. Denki tried to put his hands on Ijiro's shoulders to get him to stop. Hey Kyoka. Izuku turned to the earphone girl. Do you want to join? Kyoka looked at Nito for a second before nodding. Excellent. Izuku tossed her the medallion from Pierce. This has an ability that might be perfect for you. Kyoka grabbed it and felt it activate. A weapon called the dubstep gun was made into an ability for that one. Now you can fire waves of weaponized beams from music beats, Izuku explained. Kyoka's eyes went wide and she made a huge grin. That's rad. Any music I want. As far as I know, it's energy from you, so just think of some beats I guess. Kyoka enjoyed the feeling of the power. I'm not testing explosive music here. Alright. Katsuki looked at the box, everything making more sense about Izuku's weird grandparents and his scope of powers. Izuku. Izuku looked at the explosive teen. You still don't have a quirk, don't you? Katsuki asked quietly, which was odd for someone known for being loud and rude. Izuku looked at Katsuki, understanding exactly what his friend was thinking about. No, it's all the halo. Katsuki felt a wave of guilt remembering how much of a he used to be to Izuku, despite knowing the bad history of his father and how his bullying only made it worse. You think I can join? Izuku shared another look with Katsuki, everyone around them knowing that some sort of silent communication was happening. Izuku grabbed the medallion made by Julius Little, thinking about how both people shared a history of being friends and leaders at first, to enemies, to friends again. I don't think I could run a group without you involved, man. Katsuki had a small smile as he took the medallion, feeling its power flow into him. So do I get a cool special ability also? There was one for that medallion, but I honestly don't know what it is. Guess I get to find out later, Katsuki said. So all of these have no special abilities? Toru asked. They have super strength and super speed, not on the same scale as me or the people who are descendants, but definitely noticeable. And the person will have the purple glow. I want to join, Toru said. As do I, Nezu said. Oh definitely man. Hanta nodded. I'm in. Soon everyone started adding in how they wanted to join. Everyone seeing it as a noble cause, a group made to strive to be the best and look out for each other. Mina poked the pink coin. What is this one? Oh, that is from Jezebel, Satan's daughter. Whoa, isn't that bad? Denki said. She actually helped Gramps when he fought Satan. Can I just say your grandpa gets more badass the more we learn about him? Hanta said. He is actually my great-great-great-great-grandfather. Izuku corrected. I have a weird feeling with this thing. Mina pointed at the pink coin again. The vibes are off. Not bad or anything, just weird. Izuku looked at the coin, which shook slightly, before getting wide-eyed and looking at the pink girl. Holy, what? Mina jumped back. Izuku pointed at the pink girl. You're Jezebel's descendant. What? Mina and half of the class shouted. That coin only reacts to her descendant, Izuku said as he grabbed it. You're related to Jezebel. And Satan. Denki looked at Mina in worry. Mina looked from person to person, confused about learning this fact about herself. That isn't definite. Izuku put the coin in her hand, and it immediately started to glow. It wouldn't do that otherwise. Mina looked at it in surprise as she felt herself gain the energy from the coin. Am I a demon? Mina was questioning her existence. Probably only a fraction. Yui said. So do you have a unique power? Ijiro asked. Mina burrowed her eyebrows trying to do stuff with the energy, when suddenly a pink flat disc of energy that was translucent popped out of her hand. What is this? Maybe you make walls or platforms or whatever from your hands. Denki poked the pink disc. It feels solid. Mina tried to do the same to her foot and a disc appeared below the soles of her shoes. That is so weird. Denki grabbed a medallion. You know you have 2 more than necessary for the entirety of our class to have one. Thankfully, because I want to figure out how to make more, Izuku said. So everyone actually wants to join. Everyone else in the class who hadn't taken one nodded. Izuku grinned and started to pass out the medallions. Welcome to the Saints, Izuku said. I actually have a good plan for structuring the group as it is. Ribbit. That was fast. Suyu said. Sorry, it's just I was looking forward to doing this for years. Izuku rubbed the back of his head. First I should state, the scientists who were studying me believe it is an actual quirk I have. All Might knows and no one else should. How did All Might find out? Mishiro asked. Remember that weird incident I was in last year? The Saints leader asked. Yeah, Denki said. He was the one who got involved and he kinda found us in the middle of everything so we had to tell him. At least he is keeping it a secret. Mezu said. Yes, but Principal Nezu thinks something is up. Toru said. It will also be weird when all of us glow purple and some have new abilities overnight at the same time. Yui said. I can actually make an explanation for that. Izuku said. I can make up how I can transfer some energy and your guy's quirks kinda mutated from it. Won't the scientists try to test that? Kyoka asked. Shit, Izuku said. Luckily Momo distracted the one for now. So does she already know all of this stuff? Mina asked. Yeah, she knows everything except what has just now been happening. So what is this structuring? What structuring? Momo asked as she entered the commons. Momo, Izuku smiled. Wait, where is Melissa? She actually decided to stay in her room. Momo stood next to Izuku and noticed the box. So what has been happening here that I had to distract her? You are looking at the new Saints. Denki did a motion around the room. Momo looked at them all. Huh, don't worry, yeah, Momo, Mina said. Midori told us about the Saints and gave us all powers from some medallions. I'm also related to the devil apparently. Momo looked even more confused. Okay, my idea for the hierarchy of the Saints so far is this. Me as boss, I have 2 people directly below me, Momo and Nito. They are my advisors and otherwise second in commands. They have 1 person each that is like their assistant. Below Momo and Nito is 3 separate branches, each headed by what I call my lieutenants, who I would like to ask Tenya, Ijiro and Shoto to be. All 3 nodded. Nice. You each get your own second in command to you, enforcers, and with their extra abilities it makes sense for Katsuki, Mina, Fumikage, Kyoka or Aoyama to be. After that I divide everyone that has none of the extra abilities into the branches as the lieutenants can agree with. You guys can choose your assistants and enforcers as long as everyone can agree with it. Aoyama, Momo started. Would you like to work as my enforcer? Nothing would be better. Aoyama nodded. Tenya out a hand on Katsuki's shoulder. Your aggressiveness would make you an excellent enforcer and I request that you be my enforcer. Damn right I will be the best enforcer. Katsuki nodded. Got it 4 eyes, or Tenya now I guess. Mina grabbed Ijiro. You gotta take me as your enforcer. Ijiro chuckled. At least give me the chance to ask. I accept. Mina smiled. I didn't ask yet. Ijiro replied. Mina shook her head. Too late. Nito looked at Kyoka. Don't even need to ask, stupid. Kyoka said. Don't worry, I will do it. Nito smiled at her. That leaves us together, Shoto said to Fumikage. A formidable team. Fumikage nodded. Excellent. Izuku clapped his hands together as they finished making their decisions. Think you all can do the same with the branches. Another round of talking and soon the branches were made. Tenya's branch had Yui, Mashirao and Minoru. Ijiro's branch had Hanta, Denki and Toru. Shoto's branch had Tsuyu, Mezu and Ochako. Izuku's grin got bigger. Perfect. If you guys ever want to change branches that is fine, just try to keep them even for the most part. So what are the rules, boss man? Denki asked. Izuku felt pride as he saw everyone looking to him when he got called boss. Saints above all else. I value loyalty just as much as the old Saints did. We look out for each other. Try to be open about any problems that you need help with. Purple is a request. You don't have to change your entire outfit, but I request that some form of purple finds its way on there. I also have the thing of we're saints now, not heroes anymore. The Toucan will cross, but you guys carry the title of saints now. Everyone nodded to show their understanding. That won't be hard to follow, Kiro. Suyu said. Dude, I am just psyched to be part of the team. Denki said. Yea, with all of us we will kick all of the asses, Mina said. Izuku felt pride in the other people as they all were growing quickly into their roles. That's some team spirit right there, Izuku said. Represent us well, guys, and I want everyone to start training together, at least among your branches at first, to get used to any powers you got. Got it, Katsuki nodded. Luckily I have 2 actual fighters and 2 smart people in my branch. Achako felt worried because she felt like out of her branch she was the least strong when it came to fighting. Oh man, this is going to be great. Hanta was pumped up. Now we can just relax until curfew, I guess, Izuku said. Let's celebrate the birth of the saints. Later that night it was just Izuku, Nito, Shoto, and Momo left in the commons, cleaning up leftover trash and litter. So how are you feeling, Izuku? Nito asked. You finally got the saints up and running. Izuku smiled. Happy as hell. I bet Gramps is looking down with pride at this. He definitely is. All you 2 talked about was the saints pretty much. Nito grinned. Do you think he would be upset about the wings? Izuku asked after a minute of silence. I'm pretty sure he would say something about any good saint being good at kicking ass with 2 broken legs and 2 broken arms. Nito said. You already beat the Namu. Shoto said. So even broken you can take a challenge. By the way, Shoto, you absorbed its powers, didn't you? Momo asked. The heterochromic teen nodded. I find it odd how I have a white glow instead of the Namu's red, however. Izuku out his trash bag down. Do you have its blast? Shoto nodded. I have a blast, but I don't know if it is the same one. The leader of the saints smacked his own lightly. Hit me with one, we can see if it is the same from that. Shoto nodded, although looking uneasy about hitting his leader. Alright, here goes. Shoto made a blast, equally white to his glow, and threw it at Izuku, hitting him and Izuku grunted slightly. Yep, that has the same sting, just not as strong in the pain side. So I have a paralyzing blast. Shoto asked. Pretty much is what it looks like. It feels like a sucker punch with more shock and less punch. Kind like you can get me to hesitate with a hit. That will come in handy. Shoto nodded. He began to head upstairs. I will see you guys tomorrow. See you, Shoto. Momo waved. Bye, man, Izuku said as he plopped into the couch. Nito stretched. I am going to head out as well. Good night, guys. The last 2 waved to him. Momo sat beside Izuku on the couch. So how does it feel to be a leader? Well, I am already going mad with power, Izuku said. I plan on taking over a country, probably Russia, for their vodka. Momo pushed him slightly. You better not be drinking. I already had to yell at you today about the incident with Fumikage. I didn't say I was drinking yet. Izuku yawned. I plan on it after we conquer Russia. Not very saintly of you to conquer a country just for alcohol. Momo yawned also. I'm the leader of the saints. Everything I do is saintly, Izuku stated as he leaned back into the couch. Momo let out a soft laugh at what Izuku said. You shouldn't be down here when curfew ends. Whatever, you haven't moved either, and I think Izue-sensei won't mind as long as we are still in the building. Izuku closed his eyes. Momo yawned again and leaned her head onto Izuku's shoulder. That's a valid point. Soon they both fell asleep like that, no one noticing the quick glimmer of golden liquid shooting through Izuku's halo vein. Momo was sleeping contently until she felt something poking her face. Hey Yaoyorozus, whispered someone who sounded like Ijiro. Get out of my room, please, Momo mumbled without opening her eyes. We're in the commons, and it is 5 in the morning, Ijiro said. I figured that you might want to get up before everyone else so you don't get embarrassed. Momo still didn't open her eyes, whatever thing next to her feeling really comfortable and warm. Why would I be embarrassed about sleeping in the commons? It's not that part, Ijiro said. It's the guy spooning you part. What sounded like Toru said. Momo's eyes shot open and she turned to look, seeing the sleeping Izuku behind her on the couch, one arm around her midsection. Yeah, luckily it was just us 2 seeing you guys like this, Ijiro whispered. Imagine if Mina saw this, Toru said. She would have like 50 photos already and copies of them all over the walls. Ijiro laughed. Momo tried to slowly move Izuku's arm, which he moved back without waking up. We already tried that, Ijiro said. Dude apparently likes to cuddle in his sleep. Does it feel nice, Toru asked. I imagine it's really warm with his halo veins and everything. Momo's face turned redder. She didn't want to say how he was really warm and holding her softly. Should I just wake him up? Did you guys fall asleep spooning? Toru asked as she sat down on the coffee table. How does that help? Ijiro asked the invisible girl. I just want to know. Toru shrugged, only visibly doing so by the straps of her tank top rising slightly. I'm here for details now, not help. No, we were just sitting on the couch. Momo started to sit up and move Izuku's arm off of her. Oh, Toru cooed. It's so adorable that you guys always do stuff like that unconsciously. Momo slapped Toru's shoulder lightly. We don't do it on purpose. Yay, that's why I said unconsciously. Wow, you're so flustered you misheard me. Toru laughed. Momo got redder. Deciding to change the subject, she looked at Ijiro, who had fresh bandages covering his burns. Why are you guys even up this early? I wanted to train. Ijiro grinned. The abilities I got yesterday are so pumping. I always feel like I can run around the world like 20 times before I take a sweat. And I need to get stronger also. Toru said. USJ made me feel useless. Ijiro got a disappointed look. Hey, without you I would have been in a worse situation. I know. I just want to be able to have nothing bad happen if I can help it. Toru stood up. So let's go. We woke her up. I want to train. Ijiro grinned. I love the enthusiasm. Oh, by the way, Momo, I heard that we don't have classes today. Momo raised an eyebrow. No classes, why? I think Izuku-sensei was told to give us one day off for a bit more recovery. I saw him earlier leaving a note about it. He didn't see you two like this luckily or he might have flipped. Ijiro started to leave, Toru following. Momo looked at the sleeping Izuku, noticing how his halo veins did get duller when he was asleep, except for the red veins. Shaking her head to stir herself back from her thoughts of Izuku, she left to go get changed for the day. Everything around Izuku was destroyed, flames everywhere, and the sky was dark. The city was flattened in the area he was. Before he could properly understand what was happening, he saw two figures, near the middle of the destruction. Too far away to see who they were, he could only see the bright energy coming off of the two figures. One figure was covered in dark shadows, seemingly devouring the light around it. The other figure was shining brightly with an intense gold light. The power flowing off of the two was so intense it felt like Izuku was being crushed. Your time is over soon, Saint. A voice said all around Izuku. The hour draws near. The two figures jumped at each other, and the first blow that clashed between them caused the whole area to shake. Suddenly, Izuku felt a sharp pain in his. Izuku jumped up covered in sweat, back in the commons at UA, not in a destroyed city of fire. Izuku tried to steady his breath to calm down, still feeling a bit of pain in his. Whoa man, are you okay? Denki asked, having been startled by Izuku. Izuku took a big breath. Just a bad dream, I guess. That's. Denki replied as he gave Izuku a water bottle. We don't have classes today, boss. We don't. Izuku took a drink. Nope, they are letting us in 1A take the day off for a little bit more recovery time. Denki said. Izuku looked at a clock to see it was almost 8. No one is up yet. Now some people have come and gone. I think Kirishima and Hagakure are training. Katsuki went with Kodai and Ijiro to practice their own new powers at Gym Gamma. Shaoji, Tsu and Todoroki agreed to help Fumikage learn his ability with what I think he called the Lowa dust more. I actually am going to join them, but with a gas mask to shock them back to normal. I don't know about the others, but everyone knows class is cancelled, so they are probably doing their own thing. Izuku nodded. At least they don't waste time. Yep, good group we are in, Denki said. So your grandpa, the Johnny guy, did he ever mess up? Izuku looked at Denki, thinking it must be about what happened at USJ. As awesome as Gramps is, everyone messes up once in a while. But what if it has bad consequences for other people? Izuku nodded. One time, actually against the guy Tenya is related to, Gramps had messed up and it got my grandma involved. It didn't end well and the guilt carried on with Gramps for a long time. Grandpa said when he saw her for the first time after everything, he actually cried because of believing how it was all his fault and that she should be pissed at him for eternity. Denki looked down, thinking how Fumikage should still be mad at him but wasn't at all. What did she do? Smacked him over the head. Izuku answered, told him that next time just be careful, and then they started the family and the new timeline that led to me. What I take from that is that when you mess up at S, but you should use that mistake to motivate yourself to improve so mistakes like that won't happen again. I messed up at USJ, and I plan to make sure I learn from my mistakes. What do you mean you messed up, man? Denki asked. You straight up killed the Namu and scared the other villains into willingly getting arrested. Denki, I jumped into a battle with little thought and lost my wings. Izuku said flatly. I lost a finger, broke my sunglasses that are supposed to magically fix and they won't, and now the principal is suspicious of my powers. We even have a scientist that is here to watch me for a week. I messed up. Well, when you put it like that, sure. Denki said. Oh, the scientist girl is actually talking with Nezu right now in the main building. About what? Izuku asked. She has a theory about your energy and how it affects people around you, saying something about the next step of evolution for quirks. Denki got up to head to the kitchen. Think she believes that because of us all having purple stuff now. Wait, you guys showed her? Izuku got worried. She saw Katsuki and Kodai talking and Kodai trying to hold her cloak. So scientist girl is trying to say how it might be your quirk and its energy are so strong and potent that it can increase quirks around you. Denki grabbed 2 apples. Izuku grabbed some ham and bread. Even though it is actually me with demonic powers and me giving you guys medallions that give you all generic level demonic powers. They are awesome though. So the people that don't have awesome special abilities like me have just the shield cloak thing, some super strength and some super speed, right? Correct. And also a limited amount of power to use before it needs a recharge. Although I think you guys can increase the limit a bit. Denki said his tongue. Nice, so I can get to your level of strength. The halo is different, thing is really powerful. You could probably get a decent level of strength however. Nice, I'm going to check on the Lowa dust group now. Denki started for the stairs. Hey, where is Momo? Izuku asked. The electric teen shrugged. I dunno. That's fine. Tell everyone I am going to head into the city for a minute. Alright, boss man. Walking into his mom's apartment, Izuku saw she wasn't home. Rats. Hoping I can make up for this weekend, Izuku muttered to the air. Leaving the apartment, Izuku didn't know what to do. He didn't want to return to UA immediately because he felt like on his day off Nezu might try to make him do more tests on his quirk and he would get irritated of that quickly. Best bet for Izuku was just to stroll the town for an hour or two and then go back. Nito flew backwards, smacking against the wall. Sorry, Kyoka shouted, Nito barely hearing her over the ringing in his ears. So now we know that it has to be hit dead on by those. The blonde groaned. I thought you had your cloak up. Kyoka felt bad about it. Nito and Kyoka were testing her dubstep gun ability, which Kyoka now called her Beats Blast. While I gain back my senses, why don't we go over everything we know so far? Nito sat against the wall of Gym Gamma, which the class has asked Cementos to create walls so they could all practice. Aizawa was at first hesitant to let them all practice on their day of recovery, but liked their drive and allowed it. Are you sure you're okay? Kyoka asked, worried about Nito's wounds. I should be fine. Luckily it wasn't too bad. Nito took a breath. If you are sure. Kyoka slid down the wall next to him. I don't need my earphones or speakers to use it, but it definitely makes it better. The harder the beat, the more destructive each shot is. Faster songs produce more shots and I can make up my own tune if I can't think of one. And your original beats are better, Nito added. Kyoka turned red. That, and they definitely aren't lethal unless someone takes more than a few, but I am not going to test that on you or anyone else. That's fine. Nito stood up, no longer disoriented. I'm good to go. Are you sure? Kyoka didn't want to hurt her crush. He nodded and activated his cloak. Definitely. Shoot it, Frenchie, Mina said as she slid around on her acid, having the pink disc-like objects out. My name is not Frenchie. It is Yuga Aoyama IV. Aoyama corrected her as he used his saint's power to charge a laser shot. Learning it is an excellent substitute for the previous source of his stomach and its contents. But whatever. Come on. Mina used a disc to block the laser shot. The laser deflecting. So my discs work like mirrors. We can definitely do interesting things in a tag team, Aoyama said. They would be too busy trying to dodge a straight shot from you, not expecting on to reflect from me. Mina grinned. Say your shield ability glows brightly. What if it is so reflective that you can shot your lasers through any part of it? That is an interesting thought, mademoiselle. Aoyama stopped and turned on the shield, becoming a beacon of multiple shades of reflective purple. Watch out while I test the fullest extent. Aoyama forced as much of his quirk to go out, trying to bend it as much as he could. Mina was glad she got behind a wall and used a disc as a window to watch because the area around Aoyama become of massive heat and light as the lasers somehow become what could be described as a small sun. Aoyama stood there in amazement of his new super move. Now that is shining, Mina gave a thumbs up. Ijiro jumped up off of the ground. Okay, time to test out my special ability. Toru was on the ground wheezing, not understanding how Ijiro was still at the top of his game almost. Can you test it on your own? I need to breathe. Alright, Ijiro clapped his hands together. Here goes nothing. A deeper red glow covered Ijiro, giving him much more energy. Ijiro's skin turning red and his hardening quirk forced to its max. How is it? Toru looked at the diamond hard red skin of Ijiro. Ijiro grinned. This is amazing. Ijiro felt such a rush of power that he punched the wall next to him, the wall of cement shattering like glass. Suddenly the intense glow disappeared and his skin turned back to normal. Ijiro fell to his knees. What happened? Toru jumped up to check on him. Ijiro took a deep breath. I am going to call that my bull rush. You figured it out? Toru still didn't understand what happened. Yeah, I think it is like a massive boost to my highest level, but is good for like one hit or a small time. What else is when it is over? I think everything has to restart, meaning I am at risk if I miss. Ijiro's basic red glow returned, meaning his normal powers were back. That was 20 seconds. I definitely have to make hits count. You should on to use that as a last resort, or when you aren't the only one on your side of the fight. Toru said, definitely. Let's now see if there are risks to using it more than once in a set amount of time. Ijiro jumped back up. So how is it hanging? Denki walked into Fumikige's room, where he, Shoto, Mezu and Tsuyu were. Hey, it's that guy, Shoto said. Kaminari. Tsuyu croaked. Ribbit, we are okay so far. I think Todoroki and Shaoji need a shock now. Indeed, I am testing if I can change the potency and strength of the Lowa dust. So far I can. Todoroki is almost as far as yesterday. I want to say he can use his blast to shock us back into it, but he is not able to aim properly. Fumikage pointed behind him to a broken chair. Rip, Denki said. Luckily I got that electric touch. Alright princess, try again. Katsuki said. If you think you can, then I believe you. Yui nodded, still upset over her lack of progress. Okay. Yui summoned her cloak, and then tried to use her quirk on it. The cloak began to expand past her, gaining a more circular shape, before it popped and she fell over in pain. Katsuki helped her back up. You did better that time. It's useless though, Yui said, trying to hide her nosebleed from Katsuki. Hey, Katsuki whacked her shoulder. It's not useless. You could very well end up creating a unique move that can work as a shield for more than one person. That could block a big attack or a crumbling building if you work at it. When did you get carrying? Mashirao asked. Off Lion Tail, Katsuki snapped. We could be working on finding your special ability though. Well, I decided we are working on finding yours, Katsuki said. After that nosebleed is cleaned and you are fine, let's try it again. Tenya smiled as he flashed across the track. If you keep at this pace, Mineta, then you should be a fine saint indeed. Tenya clapped Minoru on his back, breaking the small boy's concentration. Minoru fell over. Dude, you don't know your own strength. Tenya turned off his powers, the yellow fading away. I apologize. It is taking some getting used to. I understand, man. Same here. It's weird actually having muscle for once. Minoru picked himself up. The powers actually affect my purple S. I don't think I have to worry about my health anymore. That is great. Tenya reactivated his powers to pull out an energy blade. Can you make 2 of your S, one at regular and the other as strong as you possibly could? No problem. Minoru plucked a normal off of his head, and then forcing as much energy into the second one as he plucked it, feeling it weigh just a bit more. He tossed both to the ground. Tenya swung his energy blade, cutting through the first one like a bit knife through butter, but the second one offered resistance, but with a bit of force he cut through it just as easy. Your new powers do in fact increase the stickiness of your S. I believe all of our quirks might have improved in some way. Well, I gotta catch up then. Now will the purple midget be a weak saint? Minoru exclaimed. Amazing enthusiasm. Let's use that to run 100 laps. Tenya set off down the track. Did you just say 100? Minoru felt like crying as he began to jog. Walking down the sidewalk, Izuku felt something crash into his side. Looking down, he saw a scared little girl in bad shape. She had on little clothing past a gray dress that desperately needed replaced, having bandages all over her arms and legs, and as footwear in small SCS and cuts covering her arms. Her long, almost white hair was a mess, and she had a horn on the right side of her head. What got Izuku's attention the most was her large red eyes that looked so scared. Izuku knelt down to be eye level with her. Hey miss, are you fine? Izuku spoke in a soothing tone her heard his mother used to use all the time with him when he had problems long ago. The girl looked terrified for a second at first, put off by the halo veins Izuku had, especially the red ones that even changed parts of his left eye. She got calmer at his tone and saw his horn, which wasn't as rounded as hers, but it was enough association to help her not freak out. Where is your mother or your father? Izuku asked with one hand on her shoulder to comfort her, noticing how she freaked out at the word father. Want to come with me on a trip to find your mom? The girl nodded hesitantly. Alright, I just have one rule. If you jave no shoes, you got carried. Jay don't want you hurting your feet, Izuku said as he indicated to her feet. The girl nodded. That means I will carry you. Do you like piggyback rides? The little girl looked confused for a second. You don't know what piggyback rides are? Izuku asked. Oh, you are missing out. My mom used to give me some and I loved them. The girl looked like she now wanted one. Alright, just hop on my back and we can begin our trip. The girl hesitantly and carefully got on Izuku's back, and Izuku hid the winces he got from when she touched where his wings were ripped out. Alright, you are now the captain of all SS Midoriya, so lead the way, O captain, Izuku said as the girl put her arms around his neck to support herself. Before Izuku could go anywhere, he heard something. You're there, you are, a voice called out from the alley that the girl ran out of. Izuku noticed how the girl freaked out at the sound of the voice by tightening her hold around his neck. Izuku turned to see a middle-aged man in a dark olive-colored bomber jacket, black dress shirt and matching pants, and a gray tie. What got Izuku's attention the most with this guy were the white surgical gloves her was wearing and what looks like a plague doctor mask on the lower part of his face. Oh, are you her father? Izuku asked as the man got closer. I am Iri's father, the man responded. That's a great coincidence because I was just starting to take her on a trip to find her mom or dad. The man looked at Izuku with what he assumed was a smile under the mask. The man was hiding his disgust for seeing someone with a quirk that changed their appearance in such a way. Izuku felt the girl grip him even tighter as the man got closer, shaking with what he thought was fear. This is a great coincidence, the man said. I guess I can take over your trip from here. Nah, I don't think so, Izuku said. The man looked confused. Excuse me, the trip is to look for her mom and dad. I will only pass her off to her mom and dad, Izuku stated. Well, I am her dad, the man said in annoyance. Bullshit, Izuku spat. Either you are the biggest liar and creep hurting a little girl covered in bandages and rags, or the worst father I have had the displeasure to meet. This girl is shaking with fear at the sight of you. The man got a pissed look in his eyes. I will ask you nicely to stay out of family issues and return my daughter one more time. Izuku glared at the man. My ass like hell, I would give her back to a creep like you. The man jumped forward at Izuku, trying to grab him, almost getting his arm before Izuku used his mold to push the man away. The man grabbed onto the mold and suddenly it shattered and shot out of Izuku's nose as he felt like someone took a jackhammer to his skull. Oh, Izuku cursed as he tightened his grip on Eri and got farther away from the man, his head pounding. The man put one hand against the ground, which began to vibrate and the sidewalk hit spikes of the cement jut out, trying to impale Izuku. Izuku using his super strength to jump high off of the ground and towards the side of a building. Eri, hold on tight, I need my arms for a minute, Izuku shouted as his feet hit the building. Him jumping off of the wall as soon as he hit it, jumping over the man by a good 20 meters. Izuku channeled a green blast to his hands and threw them both at the man as he landed on the roof of a 4-story building, landing on his hands and knees. Eri still with him, holding on tightly. Good job, Eri, Izuku said as he got back to his feet. Don't worry, you are safe now. You better give her back, kid. Somehow the man had made a path up to the roof and was at the edge, glaring at Izuku. Dude off. Izuku threw another blast at him, preparing to jump away again. The man ducked below the blast and put his hand on the roof, the ground shaking as a spike of the roof shot out and impaled Izuku's left ankle. The man grinned as he stopped Izuku before he could get too far away. I warned you, Brett. That is not nearly as bad as I could have gotten. Izuku grit his teeth, really wishing he still had his wings to just fly away. Shaking his head, he used his mold and made it go along his arm and down his side and leg to create a brace for his foot as he stood on it. My ass, you glorified chicken. Izuku jumped away, biting his tongue at his foot and landing on another roof, 3 buildings over. The man watched the annoying brat jump to another building, growling as he grabbed his phone and dialed a number. You better be close with that helicopter. Have a bullet ready. I have our first test subject for the stronger formula decided. Landing again from his second jump away from the guy, Izuku landed less gracefully than before, crashing his knees into the roof. Eri fell off of him. Egg, I am sorry, Eri. Izuku grunted as he wiped his nose and sat back to look at the terrified girl. She looked at his bleeding ankle and began to try to rip off her own bandages. Izuku put a hand on hers, stopping her from removing her bandages. But the girl spoke for the first time, barely a scratchy squeak. I'm fine. You're the one I am worried about. Izuku readjusted her bandages. You're hurt, Titho, Eri stammered. Izuku used his mold to stop the bleeding of his ankle and brace it again. I have been hurt worse than this. Saint, stand strong. Izuku stood back up, his left leg faltering slightly. Come on, the trip on the SS Midoriya has changed course for a better path. Izuku helped Eri to her feet and onto his back. This time Izuku didn't notice the pain from his back wounds. You're still captain, but I think the crew should make the course now. Eri nodded and gripped Izuku tightly. Izuku jumped again, on a path to his mother's apartment, and he heard the sounds of a helicopter overhead. The man stepped onto another roof and spoke into his phone. Take the shot without hitting Eri. Izuku ignored the helicopter. Landing on another roof, he stagger-stepped but stayed standing. Oh, that is getting tough, Izuku commented as he took a big breath to steady his mole. I would stop right there if I was you. Izuku cursed as he turned and saw the man using his quirk to create paths across the roofs to keep up with him. How the hell is your horror movie walking keeping up with me? Izuku backed up and prepared a purple blast instead of a green one. Your quirk disgusts me, the man said as he stood a couple of meters away from Izuku. Yeah, well, I don't care, Izuku said, turning the regular purple blast into a supercharged purple blast. Purple flames dancing around his hand. The world would be better without quirks in it, starting with yours. The man put his phone to his ear. Take the shot. Okay, I guess. Izuku tried to hurl the blast at him, but a shot rang out, and Izuku felt his get ripped open. The man let a small smile appear below his mask as the irritating boy in front of him collapsed over the roof, a pool of his forming under him. Eri falling down as well and looking terrified, as she should be for defying him. Let's go, Eri, the man ordered as he grabbed her forcefully by her arm. Maybe next time you will remember your place. Someone needs to put you in yours. The man turned to see the boy stand up, a pinkish glow surrounding the hole in his ribcage from the bullet. Impossible. The man didn't understand how this boy had his quirk still. Eri was tearfully looking at Izuku, the guy who was getting hurt, trying to help her. The man looked on in shock as the boy's glowing lines all got slightly bigger, all of them flowing with a deep purple, the cracks in his eye turning purple as well. The boy's skin had a purple tint and his lines and eyes erupted with purple flames as electricity started to dance around him. His horn grew slightly as if it was beginning to gain a soft point. You have 2 seconds to get your ass away from Eri before I pound it through this building. Izuku glared at the man. Melissa looked around the commons of the 1A dorms. Where is Izuku? Melissa asked the kids who had returned from outside. The boss left, Toru asked. Pikachu said he went into town. Katsuki said from the dining table where he was eating a bowl of cereal. Glowstick probably went to see his mom. or he is getting involved in more trouble, Yui said from a couch by the TV. Izuku wouldn't get into trouble right now, Ijiro said. We are still getting over USJ. Well then Midoriya has a clone, Yui said. He is on the news. She pointed at the TV set to the news. Again Katsuki groaned, getting up to look with everyone else at the news, which showed a clip from a phone of Izuku with a small girl on his back and a man with an odd mask on. Izuku was glaring at the man. My ass like hell, I would give her back to a creep like you. The man jumped forward at Izuku, trying to grab him, almost getting his arm before Izuku used his mold to push the man away. The man grabbed onto the mold and suddenly it shattered and shot out of Izuku's nose. Oh geez, Hanta winced. Oh, Izuku cursed and got farther away from the man. What is that guy's quirk to shatter Midoriya's mold with a touch? Nezu asked. The man put one hand against the ground, which began to vibrate and the sidewalk hit spikes of the cement jut out, trying to impale Izuku. Izuku jumped high off of the ground and towards the side of a building. Hurry, hold on tight, I need my arms for a minute, Izuku shouted as his feet hit the building. Him jumping off of the wall as soon as he hit it, jumping over to a building above the man. Izuku throwing green blast at the man as he disappeared over the building. The clip ending as a reporter said that so far the three in question have not been found yet. Why does the boss always find trouble? Hanta asked. Izuku quickly thought through his situation. A man with a quirk he didn't understand completely but could manipulate anything he touches. That alone made this a tense situation. A helicopter with a sniper that, if he had to guess wildly from what was said recently, had quirk erasing bullets. It was either that or this man wanted to just kill everyone with a quirk. A little girl needed his help, so he couldn't just be gung-ho about anything here. No doubt because of that shot the authorities and heroes will be here soon. He will definitely get scolded, but saving this girl was definitely something he needed to do, so he will take the punishment. I don't know how you still have your quirk, the man said, but you should just stop before I take your life. I don't think you are tough enough to even untie my shoes, boy, Izuku said as he got an idea. It will hurt him, but it will get Eri away from the guy. However, first he needed to get that helicopter away. Electric discharge, Izuku shouted as he threw an arc of lightning at the helicopter, hitting it dead on and frying the controls. Luckily for the people on board, they were close enough to the rooftops that when they crashed, not too much dangerous damage happened. The man glared at the boy who just got rid of his back, using one hand to manipulate the roof to attack the boy. Izuku jumped over the attacks and used it mold to create half of a with 4 layers and crashed straight into the man, smashing into him as the man shattered the first 2 layers of his domed attack, Eric falling away from them both, using the chance to make space away from the 2 men. Izuku jumped back as the man shattered the final 2 layers of his mold, pouring fast from his nose and even his ears, his vision feeling a little blurry and slowed. You can't possibly keep this up like that. I don't understand how your quirk is still even working, but I can see that you are not in good shape, the man said. Out of kindness or weakness, I am giving you one more chance to surrender and walk away. Izuku wiped the from his nose, which was soon replaced with more, and flashed a grin. Are you kidding me? I can do this all day. The man shook his head. I gave you a chance. Yeah, well, I am about to give you a chance to my ass. Izuku fired off a supreme green blast at the man, his timing off and straining his arms slightly. The man manipulated the roof to create a wall to take the blast for him. Just give up. Izuku jumped over the new wall and slammed his heel over the man's shoulder, knocking the man back towards the edge of the roof. Just my ass. Izuku slammed into the man and sent them both of the roof into the alley below. Both of them hit the walls of the buildings a few times before crashing into the ground close to each other. Izuku tried to create more layers of mold, but the man broke through them as grabbed Izuku's. The man used his quirk to manipulate the boys to change the layout of everything inside. The man watched as all of the glowing lines and flames disappeared. The man stopped attacking as he knew the boy would die from this and watched as Izuku fell over, vomiting a purple tar-like substance. The man looked in shock as he saw the face of a kid he hasn't seen in over a decade. The man backed away, confused about seeing the face of the kid that was his driving force and his cause be part of the problem he saw in the world. Boss, the cops are coming, the man heard one of his cronies call out somewhere in the maze of alleys. Not knowing how to react to the kid in front of him, he left. Confused about everything, he decided to leave before the cops got him and ruined his plans. Minutes later, Eri scrambled into the alley, frantically looking for the guy who saved her. Finding him, she freaked out because he was unconscious, covered in a purple substance next to him. Eri started crying into his, crying because someone got hurt and died again because of her. She felt scared again and felt her body start to activate her quirk, no longer caring as it went off on the guy who tried to save her for no good reason. Izuku felt a head rush and his fill with air as he started to violently cough, hearing a yelp of surprise next to him. Izuku's halo veins turning back on with his green and purple glow. You're okay, Izuku heard Eri cry in surprise. I figured I was toast by that dude. Izuku groaned and sat up, before he saw the dim glow that disappeared from Eri's hands as well as her horn. You used your quirk to save me, Izuku asked the girl. Izuku didn't know what her quirk was, but it had to be the only reason he was there at that moment. Yuri looked at Izuku and then her hands, at first scared that she had used her quirk that was a curse on someone again, but then realized what the guy just said. He said she saved him with her cursed quirk. I guess that makes you the hero here, I guess. Izuku grabbed her shoulder, seeing how scared she looked again and trying to comfort her. Thanks for being my hero. Yuri started crying and Izuku got afraid that he said the wrong thing before Yuri hugged him tightly. Not sure what exactly to do, Izuku hugged her back. Young Midoriya, why must I always be the one who has to deal with you when you cause or get into trouble? Izuku turned to see All Might standing there, looking irritated with him. I'm just lucky, I guess. Izuku shrugged as Yuri hid behind Izuku from All Might. Can you explain to me exactly why you destroyed a helicopter and parts of some buildings? All Might asked, noticing how tightly the little girl held onto Izuku. I was just walking around on my day off from classes, met my new hero here, and a creep tried to take her. He seemed like he was hurting her and she was afraid, so I acted even though I know I shouldn't have within the law. However, I did what I believe was right and no punishment will take me change that mindset. All Might looked at the boy, seeing the intensity in his eyes, and nodded. I understand your mindset completely, Midoriya. However, you should still operate within the law, like I had to tell you last time. Luckily, most of this here wasn't seen by the authorities, so I can just slap you on the wrist for what was seen. You do need, however, to stop finding yourself in these situations. All Might lectured. Trust me, I try. It's just how saints are, I guess. Izuku tried to stand but fell to his knees, having forgotten about his ankle. I don't think I can walk back. I kinda abused my mold. The number one hero shook his head. You were just as reckless as me when I was your age. Can I ask who your little friend here is? Yuri tried to shrink further behind Izuku as she had the massive hero's attention on her, only as calm as she was because of Izuku at the moment. This is Yuri, right? Izuku looked at the small girl, who nodded at him. Hey Yuri, she is an amazing hero. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be talking right now. Izuku tried to hint to All Might to call her a hero or anything positive. The hero took the message well. In that case, I am proud to work as a hero with someone like you around to make my job easier, young Yuri. Yuri smiled slightly at the praise, before seeing Izuku try to stand again and leaning on his one bad leg. Hey All Might, the saint said as he decided to go against what he just said and used his mold to make another brace for his foot, noticing some more trickle from his nose. Can I get an escort out of here with you and the tough hero? We need to make sure this all gets on record first. My friend Sakachi might be willing. I can carry you there if your leg is too bad. All Might could see the pink glow of his student's healing ability at work, wondering how Izuku can have two abilities active despite not being in his Saint's Rage mode. No, I have to finish my trip. Izuku felt a small headache from having his two abilities at work at the same time. He looked at the small girl next to him. Do you still wanting to finish your trip on the SS, Midoriya? Yuri looked at Izuku in awe, finding it amazing how much he kept going just to help her. She nodded, and Izuku helped her into his back. All Might smiled at the sight, proud of his student that was making a big step in being a hero, but fought a frown when he saw Izuku wince because of Yuri, realizing she must have touched his back wounds that weren't healed all the way. You're still captain of the ship, Yuri, but Bunny Ears here is now the one making the path. Izuku started walking, able to focus on other things besides the pain. Onward, Bunny Ears. All Might realized the joke was about his hair and chuckled. All right, we go this way, cursing as he washed the dirt vigorously off of his arms. He didn't know how the boy even had powers in the first place. Everything about the situation confused him now. The last time he saw the boy, he genuinely thought he had died, because of that bastard he wants to target the most. A so-called pro-hero, who would do something that was the opposite of what people thought to be heroic in the corrupt and filthy world. The loss of Yuri not even in his mind as he questioned that event from over a decade ago. Izuku sighed as he sat down next to All Might and Yuri, who he had just given his purple jacket to cover her better than just the raggedy dress she had. So Midoriya, can you start from the beginning? The detective known as Sakachi asked. Izuku told him everything that happened, from the second that Yuri bumped into him to All Might finding Izuku and Yuri in the alley. Sakachi finished writing and looked at Izuku. Son, I believe that there were better initial reactions and ways to handle that situation. However, because of what you did, we have captured and two things that were in the helicopter. So even against my better judgment, I will let this slide because we now finally have a way to get information on the Shai Hasekai, a Yakuza group that is rumored to be distributing a quirk-disabling drug into the black market. Izuku noticed Yuri gripped his arm tighter. Maybe her quirk was used by that asshat in that drug. It would explain her appearance a little and why the guy put so much effort into getting her back. What confuses me is you getting shot, Sakachi said. He seemed confused in your report of your fight about your quirk still working. Perhaps young Midoriya's quirk was strong enough to bypass any effects of the quirk-disabling drug. All Might answered, covering for Izuku. Well aware of the fact that Izuku was actually quirkless, so a drug to erase or disable quirks was useless on him. That might be true. That or your transformation into what you call your saint's rage purged the drug from you system. Chisaki said. Just lucky, I guess. And you cheated death for what I believe is the second time if I read the USJ report correctly. That man's quirk seems like he can manipulate anything he touches, and his description matches the one of this Chisaki Kai, the person rumored to be the new leader of this group. You should have died when he grabbed you. However, you are still here thanks to the quirk of this little girl. Yay, Eri is my hero. Izuku put a hand on Eri's shoulder, the girl blushing from the praise. I would actually to run a quirk test on her to find out more information. Chisaki said. You can go now, Midoriya. She is in good hands. Izuku seemed hesitant. Midoriya, she will be fine. All Might said. Izuku tried to get up but Eri held onto his arm tightly. He sat back down. I'm sorry, but I can't. My job isn't over till she feels completely safe. All Might smiled. Chisaki nodded. I guess I can allow it for now. We don't have a place to keep her for safety yet anyways. I am her place for safety, Izuku stated. The SS, Midoriya. Midoriya, she can't just stay with you. She is no doubt still wanted by the Shy Hasekai and you are in high school. All Might said. First off, UA. Dorms, high security. And second off, I am a saint and the saints look after their own. Me and her saving each other makes her one of my own. Izuku said. Midoriya, you are still recovering from the USJ attack and now this, taking care of this little girl might be too much on top of that. Chisaki tried to reason with the boy. Want me to repeat what I said to Bird Mask? Izuku asked. Because I will. All Might narrowed his eyes at the mouthy boy. Midoriya, I'm sorry, but the more you guys argue with me on this, I can feel her squeezing my arm. Clearly I am the only person she can be around because of what that Chisaki guy did, and I will be damned if she has to feel afraid anymore. Izuku had a defiant look in his eyes. All Might and Chisaki both couldn't help but think of how stubborn like a younger All Might Izuku was. I suppose she can stay with you. Chisaki sighed. However, I still want a test. Izuku looked at Eri, ready to crush a test. Eri nodded to Izuku. The test took a minute because Eri was afraid of the medical equipment. However, Izuku's presence helped calm her down. No results popped up for Eri and her quirk also showed no results. Now Izuku was walking back to UA, with Eri on his back again. All Might a couple of steps ahead of them. Hey All Might. Yes, Midoriya, the hero turned his head as they walked. You remember my goal of making that group called the Saints? The Saint asked. Of course. I was actually worried at USJ because of the idea of you not getting to carry out your legacy. Well, I actually started them, Izuku said and watched as All Might stopped and looked at him. Have you indeed? Izuku nodded and grinned. I told everyone in 1A the truth, they all joined. A respectable bunch of rascals. All Might nodded. What are the Saints? Eri mumbled from Izuku's back. Only the greatest team of superheroes and badasses ever, Izuku declared. We believe in loyalty. Good times, maybe one day getting a hot dog suit and being the greatest bunch of heroes around. I want to be a saint, Eri said. That will have to be taken up with the board. Izuku said. You're in. We needed a super tough hero like you. Eri felt something close to a smile for the first time in a while. Getting to the dorms, Izuku immediately wanted to cover his and especially Eri's ears. Izuku, Midoriya, you reckless idiot. Momo yelled at him and everyone in the comments. Look on in surprise. Even Katsuki, who had his own yelling planned. You can't go one day without getting yourself almost killed. Izuku's eyes were as wide as dinner plates. Ooh hi. Momo got madder. I was worried sick about you. Momo grabbed Izuku and out him in a tight hug. Don't scare me like that, dumbass. Eri didn't know exactly who this girl was, but she scared her. Izuku returned the hug with one arm. Sorry, but Eri needed help. Momo let go of Izuku. And leave MG, a rampage across the town was necessary. How much did you guys see exactly? Izuku asked. Well, we saw your little skirmish with the masked dude before you took to the rooftops, Minoru said. And then the reports were about the scenes after everything had happened, from with purple specks being found on multiple rooftops to a broken down helicopter and a purple substance with even more in an alley. Are you okay now, boss man? Denki asked. Ribbit, you do seem worse for wear, Suyu said as she pointed out that has dried around his ears, nose and mouth, as well as his ankle that was soaked and still covered with his mold as a brace. Thanks to my hero Ye, Izuku said. Speaking of which, here is the newest member of our dorms, Eri. Eri tried to lower her face behind Izuku's back as everyone looked at her. Hi, she said very quietly. She's adorable, Mina and Toru exclaimed. So first you become a gang leader, then a dad the next day, Minoru asked. You don't waste time in life, man. She is already more of a hero than me, so I gotta play catch up, Izuku said. Eri blushed at the positive attention she was getting. Hey Momo, I know you are pissed off at me right now, but I also have to leave again with Eri in a minute. The saint didn't give Momo eye contact. Why? Momo asked. Well, as her caretaker, I plan on getting her actual clothing to wear, Izuku said. I just planned on trying to heal my leg a bit more before I go. Mina shot forward like a bullet, actually pushing Momo a little bit to get in front of Izuku. Fashion, I will totally help her look like the definition of style. Mina, calm down. Anjiro called from a couch, trying to detail what could end up a disaster. Yuri looked at Mina's horns curiously, seeing that her and Izuku were the only two with horns, even if Izuku only had the one like Yuri herself did. Pinky, don't scare the little kid, Katsuki said. PSSHA. Yell at me even though Momo was the one screaming like she was going to beat Midori up, Mina said. Izuku went with Yuri to a couch and dropped her carefully next to him, his jacket creating a shell for her that she hid under as he sat down. Do you even know everything you need to get? Momo asked. Not exactly. I haven't had to be responsible for another person before. Izuku released his mold in his leg and began to pour all of his energy into healing the ankle. Boss, why don't you take a load off and we help Yuri? Anjiro said. Your ankle looks like it will take a minute. I can get what she needs. Sue said. I take care of my little siblings all of the time. I am definitely helping her get good clothing sense, Mina stated. Do you think you can go with them? Izuku asked the girl hiding in his jacket. Yuri hesitantly nodded. If you get scared, don't worry. In fact, I have something to make you strong. Izuku took off his broken sunglasses and held them to Yuri. Every time I feel worried, I use these to block out my fear. Yuri didn't know how he could say he was afraid. Him fighting the scariest person she knew earlier without hesitation. Yuri took the pair of broken glasses gently and put them on, feeling a warmth come from them that felt comforting like Izuku has been for her. I will be right here when they bring you back. I promise, Izuku said. Because our trip is not over. Yuri still didn't understand why he was being so nice to her, when in her short life she was always abused and told she was a curse. Yuri started crying again and Izuku looked like he was freaking out. Hey, it's fine. Izuku out an arm around her, Yuri grabbing him in a hug again. If you don't want to go without I can be there. Izuku didn't like how she seemed almost deathly afraid of everything, including the idea of him not being right by her side. Izuku swore he would find that Chisaki Kai guy again and kick his ass. So how do you like Midori looking like a dad? Mina said to Momo. Momo looked at the pink girl. Do you always have to bring that up? Yes, Mina nodded. Yuri looked at Izuku again after hearing the word dad, and then hugged him again even harder. How does this make me a dad? Izuku looked at the pink girl. Oh come on, you are giving off dad vibes, Mina said. Taking Yuri's reaction a secret ago into consideration, Izuku said his next line carefully. Well, if that makes me the dad of the best hero, then I accept. He felt Yuri start to cry again, but not sadly like before. An hour later, Tsuyu, Mina and Momo all were at a clothing store with Yuri. Yuri had finally separated from Izuku after a few minutes and he went to clean off all of the NC recovery girl, saying how he wanted Yuri to visit her when she got back. How about this? Mina held up a selection of clothing. I think I made an adorable outfit. The other three, Yuri being led by hand by Tsu after Momo made her basic shoes earlier, came over to the pink girl. Mina held in her hands a white dress shirt with a frilled collar and a plain red pinafore with two large, golden buttons, as well as gray tights and a large set of tan boots. The red would go with her eyes so well. Mina clapped her hands together. Yuri looked at the outfit and shook her head. Seeing where Mina had grabbed the pinafore, Yuri went over to it and grabbed another one, this time purple. Purple, but that won't match your eyes. Mina pouted. It reminds me of him. Yuri murmured, almost embarrassed to speak. Tsuyu knelt down to Yuri's level. Who? Yuri shakily pointed to the broken sunglasses that Izuku had let her keep. Midori, she even thinks of him like a dad now. Mina said. You so gotta be the mom, yeah, Momo. Momo pinched her nose to hide her blush. Mina, are you saying you wouldn't want Izuku to make you a mom? Mina asked with a raised eyebrow. Tsuyu gave Mina a crossed look. Please don't speak inappropriately in front of a child. I haven't cursed yet, Mina said. We saw Izuku do that on the news. Do you think he will get in trouble for that, Kiro? Tsuyu asked. Like more trouble than he usually gets into. I saw him with All Might earlier when he got back, Momo said. All Might have already given him his punishment. Our boss sure likes causing trouble, Tsuyu remarked. Bossari asked with a whisper, wondering what they meant about Izuku. Midori started a group called the Saints. We even have a logo. Our job is to protect innocent people like you, Mina explained. He looks out for us like family. Yuri had curious eyes, knowing Izuku had said things before about saints, including how she could join. He said that. I could be a saint. Yuri held onto the sunglasses to help her stay calm. Mina cooed. Midori keeps sounding more and more like a sweetheart. Yeah, Momo, outgot yourself a fine one. Momo put her face in her hands. You do this just to mess with Yaoyorozus, don't you? Tsuyu asked. Yep, Mina chirped. Now let's get like 10 more of this outfit for Yuri and take her back to Midori. You said you got shot, did you not? Recovery girl looked at the x-ray of Izuku's, seeing no bullet, entry or exit point of such a thing. I think I would remember being shot, Izuku said. Right here actually. Izuku did a circle around the middle of the second rib from the bottom on his left side. The only injuries you seem to have is ankle. So I only have the injury from the beginning of the fight. Izuku was confused. But what about all this from my ears and nose, the stuff I even vomited? Nothing. It's almost as if the wounds were all erased. Recovery girl didn't think Izuku would make up injuries. If anything, she figures he would act like he wasn't. That's weird. So my insides are all normal. Yes, dearie. But that guy, Chisaki or whatever, had a quirk where it is like he can manipulate things by touching them. He tore up roof just to chase me, and touched a roof to make it rip up and block an attack from me. I assumed it was just non-organic, but he could shatter my mold, which is a whole different problem, and I felt all wrong when he grabbed mine. It is possible he might have been able to manipulate the human body as well. Recovery girl rolled her chair to her computer, which means you should be looking like someone shook an etch-a-sketch. Unless Uri's quirk had something to do with it. Izuku felt a light bulb go off. Who is this Uri? The old nurse looked at Izuku. This little girl that I saved from that Chisaki dude. After I fell off of a building with him into an alley. You fell off of a building. Recovery girl felt her pressure rise. What was with it and boys at UA? Getting into bad situations. It was kinda reckless in hindsight. The glowing saint let out a nervous laugh. He grabbed my. Everything felt painful as hell inside of my, and then a second later I feel like I got a head rush and Uri was over me with glowing hands and her horn. She might have a healing quirk then. Have her come by once you return to the dorms if you can. I can run a test. She doesn't really like medical equipment. I think that guy wasn't really nice to her, and this talk makes me think her quirk had something to do with it. I can be as gentle as I can try. Recovery girl said. I have seen a lot in my time. So I am good to go, Izuku asked. Yes, dearie. If you can have the little Uri here before 5. As Izuku was about to leave, he stopped. Recovery girl. You said you have seen a lot, right? Recovery girl turned to look at Izuku. Indeed I have. Izuku hesitated before he asked his question, almost afraid of the answer. What are the chances of me getting my wings back? Recovery girl looked at Izuku, seeing how hopeful he tried to be about it. It broke her heart to give the honest answer. I'm sorry, sweetie, but it doesn't look good. Izuku nodded. It's fine. Today showed me I can work without them. It's just, they meant a lot to me. Recovery girl nodded. I can see if I can talk with those researchers from my island and see if my expertise can help. Thanks, Izuku said as he left. Before he could exit the main building, Izuku ran into Principal Nezu. Mr. Midoriya, I wanted to speak to you today. The mouse bear thing said. May I ask about what? Izuku said as he followed Nezu, who motioned for him to follow Nezu to his office. It was about some findings that Miss Shield has found. And more recently, I believe I have had something interesting brought to my attention regarding your day today. Izuku felt like he wouldn't like something Nezu would say. What did Melissa say? Izuku closed the door to Nezu's office behind him. To her, it seems like your quirk has affected others in your class. Almost like the energy of your quirk is so potent that people close to you can and do seem to achieve what can be called a small mutation of gaining a byproduct of your quirk. Miss Shield told me she has even seen Ms. Kodai with a glowing purple energy. That could just be her quirk. Izuku shrugged. Quirks aren't a complete science that we know all about. Maybe this type of power is the next step, and it just happens that my quirk helps everyone else's quirks reach it. While I do agree that quirks are in fact not a complete science, I doubt the chances of the next step of evolution is similar to your quirk. It seems highly unlikely that so many of your classmates can achieve this next step immediately after being around you. I believe that you are either consciously or unconsciously running your energy off on others, and whether or not that is a good thing is still up for debate. While what has been seen in Yaoyorozus, who I believe has gotten this as well, has shown nothing but excellence in using the powers, it is still unknown whether or not there are health risks involved in your powers doing such a thing. There are no health risks, Izuku said. You say that as if you have done this before, Nezu said. Izuku felt like saying, I also feel like there is a secret you are hiding, if I can be candid, Midoriya. What secret? Midoriya, I know you are intelligent, so don't waste both of our times. Nezu started to pour tea. This science experiment has been to study your quirk and better understand it. However, looking at your history, it is quite odd that you were marked as quirkless until a little over a year ago. Then suddenly you have a remarkable amount of abilities. My guess was the quirk and energy was not ready to appear until I was ready to handle it. That sounds like it could be the case. However, a sudden burst of energy instead of a filter seems illogical. Nezu leaned forward. Midoriya, we are both intelligent people. I know there is something going on, and you know that whatever it is will be revealed eventually. It would be far easier to reveal it to me. Izuku didn't say anything. Pursing his lips and thinking about the situation, he didn't know if he should even reveal anything to Nezu. Not was he expecting to at all. Izuku had no clue if Nezu would even keep the secret. Nezu studied the student in front of him, noticing how Izuku was thinking hard. If Nezu had to guess, this was a big secret Izuku had. Midoriya, you have my word that whatever it is I can keep in this office if it is in my judgment that it is not a risk to any of the students. The principal promised. Can I have someone here who can vouch for me because they have witnessed parts of this secret? Izuku asked. And I need to stay an absolute secret. Nezu nodded. Who is this person? All Might. Nezu raised an eyebrow. Nezu sat in silence as Izuku finished talking for the moment, with All Might having filled in at some points to add credibility. Izuku had so far only revealed the part of his great-great-great-great-grandfather Johnny Gat giving him the halo because he had to pass it on, and how he has its power flow through him. So, this definitely confirms the devil is real for sure if it is true. It also explains that transformation a bit more as it was triggered by your hatred. Nezu rubbed what Izuku guessed was the unknown animal's chin. However, what about your classmates? Are you leaking out energy like your great-great-great-great-grandfather, or is there something else? You know how I said my ancestor was a saint? I didn't mean the religious type of one, but rather part of a group. I started to remake the group and he gave me these medallions that can infuse the person with a generic level of powers like mine. They will only have increased strength, speed, and a purple cloak that acts as a 1 or 2 hit shield. So you have recruited your classmates. Do they know the truth? Nezu would be upset if Izuku was lying to them and recruiting them. No, I told them everything. They all were hesitant at knowing that the old saints weren't as good, but agreed when I said I wanted the next generation to be more aligned to good. The principal nodded. Honesty is a good leadership quality. Do you have any spare medallions? I have 2, but I need them to learn how to make more. I shall respect that. If All Might has faith and this is all consensual from the others, then I suppose it is fine. However, you must fill me in on any growths from the others. These powers might be limited, but unexpected things can still happen. Deal. Izuku grinned, glad that he wasn't in deep shit like he thought. Now let's discuss your fiasco today. Izuku relaxed too soon. Simply that situation was a fiasco, and luckily what was on the news and of you was only you using your quirk to escape. I don't condone the way you handled it, especially without a hero license. The situation from what I heard was spring on you, and it would even be against my own judgment to let the girl be taken by that man. However, from what I have heard, you should most likely be dead from this Chisaki Kai's quirk if not for... So as a punishment to help you realize you shouldn't jump into situations where you would lose your life, I don't think you should participate in this year's upcoming sports festival. Izuku jumped out of his seat. What? Midoriya, sit down. All Might put a hand on Izuku's shoulder. Midoriya, you keep getting yourself into situation after situation where your life is on the line and you leave with a scar. If we let you participate, imagine how the media would react. As the news from USJ has reached public eyes by now and you're one of the worst cases from it. The 2 reasons you just gave are bullshit, Izuku said. Worried about the damn media, heroes should do their best to protect others, not be happy little puppets or celebrities. And if you punish me for getting into situations where I could get hurt, that is also dumb as hell. Every situation has either been villains attacking me out of nowhere or me trying to save another person. Heroes are supposed to dive headfirst into danger to save others. The lesson I would learn is that you apparently don't trust me to be able to look after myself. I fought a demon from hell. I am a damn saint. I am fine. Nezu sipped his tea. Are you done, Midoriya? This showed me you can't handle outside decisions that go against you. Heroes have to learn to go with the flow. Well, good thing I want to be a saint more. Saints go against the current. Without another word, Izuku got up and went to leave. All Might looked at Principal Nezu. That could have gone smoother. Nezu sipped his tea. It could have. He does have a strong sense of ideas. Most people never get so into it with me. As much as he should get a punishment, I think he should be allowed into the sports festival to show how he stands strong after tragedy, which will go smoothly with the press. Nezu mulled it over. I cannot simply allow him to at this point freely, and you know that. Perhaps I can give him a challenge to overcome. A test. How about the big 3 All Might proposed? That could indeed make for an interesting test. However, I have one more test as well, which will test the loyalty of his saints. Izuku stormed back into the dorms, still mad about the sports festival. Hi, Midori, Mina called out. Before he could say anything, Eri quickly hugged him tightly. All of his anger was gone. Hi, Eri, how was your shopping trip? I missed the actual trip, Eri said as she held Izuku's sunglasses in her hands. He ignored me. Mina pouted too. Tsuyu, who laughed lightly. Well, the actual trip hasn't ended, Izuku said as he picked up Eri. Like I said earlier, this isn't over until we have you a better mom and dad. I have a new dress, Eri said, slipping the trip because she wanted Izuku to notice the color of her dress. It looks nice. Izuku saw the purple dress. Good color choice. Makes me wonder if I could pull off a dress like you. You don't have the legs for it, Denki said. Rats. Izuku snapped his fingers. There goes my idea of being a dancer. Why were you looking upset earlier, Boss Hanta? Tossed the he head to Ijiro. First off, Principal Nezu now knows some of the stuff. How much Nito looked up from his chess game. He knows you guys are saints and how I am quirkless. Also the halo. That's a big majority of it. Katsuki said. How will this affect that scientist girl? She's not here, by the way, luckily. You should really scan the room before you say that shit. I have no idea how this affects her. Hopefully Nezu goes along with the charade. What Eri asked in confusion. Oh, it's this Izuku looked lost trying to think of how to explain to Eri, which made him think of the question, should he tell Eri? Are you quirkless? Eri seemed afraid of the topic. Izuku sat on the floor, eye level with Eri. Yeah, I am quirkless. Eri started to cry and grab Izuku. I'm sorry, it's my fault. How is it your fault? He used me to make that. It took your quirk. Eri sniffled. I was born without a quirk, Eri. That guy had nothing to do with it. But your quirk. Eri was confused about what Izuku was saying. Wasn't that stuff earlier his quirk? I don't have one. All that stuff I did was to help you, by digging deep in myself and using my inner strength. Izuku said. And it wasn't your fault. That Chisaki guy is a major stupid head, and next time I see him I am shoving his dumb bird mask down his throat. It was him being a bad person, abusing you, and you aren't anywhere close to as bad as him. I mean, you saved my life today. You're nothing but a hero. Eri started tearing up again. Not used to all of the kindness Izuku had. I can tell you that her quirk is not necessarily a regular healing quirk. Beyond that, it is lost to me. Recovery girl said. Oh, guess we can find that out later then I guess. Whatever it is, it definitely saved me. Izuku sat beside Eri, who looked between the two people talking with curiosity. I can also tell you that she is around 6 or 7 years old just about, but definitive age I can't be sure. 6, Eri muttered. Oh, you know, dearie, recovery girl asked. Do you also happen to know your birthday? This can help us find your parents, as well as the DNA from earlier. Eri tried to pronounce the month. It is in December. All right, we have December at least, Izuku said. That should definitely be more than enough to find out where her real parents are. I actually have a match right now already. Recovery girl looked at her computer. In the city, in fact. Izuku looked at Eri. Ready for the biggest part of our trip? Eri nodded. Let's go then. Izuku knocked on the door of the apartment, Eri nervously next to him. It's okay, Eri. Trips always have the best final stop. The door opened and Izuku saw a woman with pale blue-gray hair just like Eri's. Can I help you? Yes, I believe you might be related to Eri here, Izuku indicated to the small girl next to him. The woman took one look at Eri and tried to slam the door shut. But Izuku quickly out his still healing foot in its path. Now what the hell was that, Izuku asked. A simple no instead of slamming it. Damn. Get that little witch away from me, the woman hissed. Izuku glared at the woman. So she is related to you. That little witch is my daughter. She used that curse of hers and made my husband disappear. The woman tried to slam the door over Izuku's foot, which Izuku used mold to protect. Now I want an explanation, without your current word choice. Izuku growled, a small amount of black fluid appearing in his halo veins. Whatever her damned quirk is erased my husband. That thing is a curse. Eri was close to crying behind Izuku. Her name is Eri. Izuku realized he needed to control his anger. And her quirk is the only reason I am alive right now, so I suggest you quit insulting a hero. She is a little witch who killed her father. Now leave before I call the cops. I probably should before you need to call an ambulance instead, Izuku said as he yanked the door shut. Izuku turned to the crying Eri. It infuriated Izuku that Eri had a parent that treated her poorly because of her quirk, remembering his father and his situation. Izuku knelt down to Eri. Don't listen to her, she is an idiot. No curse would ever save a life. What you have is a blessing. Eri hugged Izuku tightly, Izuku returning it and lifting her up so he could carry her. Apparently this was not the last stop on our trip today. The trip continues. Izuku walked back into the 1A dorms with Eri held tightly. Hey boss, wait, I thought you found Eri's home. Ijiro said. That place is not what I thought it was. Izuku said. They don't realize how great Eri is, so she stays with us. Everyone could tell there was more Izuku wanted to say, but wouldn't because Eri was there. Well, welcome to the dorms again, little lady, Denki said. Katsuki dragged Izuku away from Eri, who Izuku had just placed down on a couch. What happened? Katsuki asked, far enough away from everyone else for privacy. You looked pissed. That had the ing nerve to Izuku stopped himself by taking a breath, feeling the black liquid himself that time as it entered his system. Katsuki saw the black liquid and realized what it was. You have to struggle with that demon mode shit. It's only when something sets off my deep rage. And this is right up there. Izuku took a breath. What happened? Katsuki asked. That reminded me of my father, Izuku said quietly. Katsuki's eyes widened and looked between Izuku and the little girl. Well, luckily Eri has a new family, Katsuki said as he poked Izuku's. Be the parent you both deserved. Izuku looked at Eri, who had looked around for Izuku at that second, noticing him and waving slightly. Izuku felt his anger leave at the sight. She deserves it. It was now dinner time and Eri had a new seat next to Izuku. So is Eri here permanently? Denki asked. Yep, she is a saint now too, Izuku said. Are you giving her a medallion to signify that? Katsuki asked, keeping it quiet on the powers talk with Melissa there. That will be a no for now. Eri looked up at Izuku confused. Can I have a medallion? First you take my glasses, now you want my medallions. Izuku made sure it was clear to Eri with his time that he was joking. You're robbing me, aren't you? Eri shook her head, suddenly aware again that she still had Izuku's sunglasses. Do you want them back? Eri tried to give them back. The hero needs something cool to wear and you pull them off amazingly. Izuku out the glasses back on Eri. You can keep them, although I might borrow them to fix them for you. Eri nodded. Anyone find it weird how Izuku has almost died today and became a father? Denki whispered to a few of the others. I don't question the boss. Hanta sipped his soda. I feel like questioning things might just waste time now. What did you two talk about earlier? Yui whispered to Katsuki. Midoriya looked upset. He found Eri's mom. Katsuki whispered back. She was and disowned Eri. Luckily he was willing to bring her back here, Yui said. Katsuki nodded, knowing how greatly this would be for the sakes of Izuku and Eri. It was an hour later and Izuku approached Tsuyu. Tsu, I have a question and I feel really embarrassed about it, Izuku said. The frog girl looked at the leading saint curiously before speaking. What is it, Kiro? Can you help me give Eri a bath? Tsuyu felt like there always a joke to make about the guy that would fight till he dropped or fight a monster but would be worried about something like this. However, she wasn't one to make jokes on such matters. Luckily there were other things to tease about. I can help, but wouldn't you rather have Yaoyorozus do that? Izuku looked at the frog girl. She doesn't have little siblings, but you do, so I figured you would be an easier help for the first time. So you want me to teach you so you can show your fatherly instincts to Yaoyorozus later. Will you help me or not? Izuku sounded a little annoyed. Yes, Tsuyu smiled. Later that night, curfew was drawing closer. Izuku trying to find an empty room for Eri. Alright Eri, does this room seem fine? Izuku walked around an almost completely empty room with Eri on his back, who was close to sleeping. Eri shook her head that was on Izuku's shoulder. Too empty? Izuku asked. Too empty, Eri repeated. How about this? I think I have a great room for you, and you even get a roommate. Are you interested? Eri nodded. Alrighty, let's go. Momo opened her door to a knock, seeing Izuku with a tired Eri on his back. Hi Izuku, what is wrong? Eri needs a room. Can she bunk with you? Izuku asked her. You do have that large bed. Momo nodded. I have more than enough room for Eri. Hear that, Eri? You got a roommate, Izuku said as he walked into Momo's room. She's pretty, Eri mumbled. Yeah, but she is scary when I do dumb things, Izuku said as he slid Eri carefully into the bed. Sleep well and I will see you tomorrow. Izuku started walking away but heard Eri whimper. Turning around he saw Eri looking sad. Hey, it will be fine. I will be right down the hole on the guy's side, I promise. If you need me, just bug Momo into getting me. Izuku owed Eri's head and smiled before he left. Momo sat beside Eri. Hi Eri, sorry you met me while I was screaming at Izuku. It was scary, Eri said. I was upset with him because he was reckless. Because of me. Eri felt guilty. It's not your fault. Izuku is just a good person who risks a lot to help others. He would no doubt do it again to save you. He stopped the bad man, Eri said. I was afraid the bad man would kill him. From what I hear, it was you that saved Izuku from that happening. Which makes you better than the bad man. Izu is strong. He sure is. I miss Izu, Eri said. Want to bother him? Momo asked. I don't want to be a bother, Eri said. Okay, if you need anything let me know. Momo turned off the light. Good night, Eri. 4 hours later, Momo woke up hearing crying. Turning on the light, she saw Eri in the midst of a bad dream. She dialed Izuku on her phone as she gently moved Eri to stir her. Hello, Izuku mumbled over the phone. Eri is having a bad dream, Momo said as Eri started to wake up. I am on my way. Izuku hung up. Eri jumped up looking scared, her eyes really red. Are you okay? Momo asked. Eri shook her head, jumping when she heard a knock on the door. Momo got up to open the door and Eri jumped up as well when she saw Izuku, running to him and holding on to him for comfort. Hi Eri. Izuku kicked her up. You okay? The bad man was back. Eri sniffled. The shades didn't scare him away, Izuku asked. I wasn't wearing them, Eri said. I thought you couldn't wear them to bed. You can't, but them being close should have worked. Tell you what, how about I hold you while you sleep, and if the bad man comes I can kick his ass again. Is that fine with you? Eri nodded. Will that keep the bad man away? Definitely. If that doesn't work we can have Momo scream at him. Izuku sat by Momo on the bed with Eri. I'm too tired to walk back to my room, Momo. Is it fine if I just stay here? It's fine. We fell asleep on the couch last night anyways. We did. Izuku looked at her oddly. I didn't know that. We gotta talk about that later. Momo turned red as she turned her light back off. Not sure I will be helpful with that conversation. Izuku smiled. Now Eri, if the bad man shows up all you gotta do is call my name and I promise I will be there as soon as possible to kick his ass. Izuku mumbled. That's a saint's promise. Eri nodded as she snuggled into Izuku's, feeling comfortable from the warmth of his halo veins. Izuku smiled as he drifted off, not yet realizing the fact that their trip to find her family had ended.